Welcome to Armchair Expert, Experts on Expert. I'm Dan Shepard, and I'm joined by Sticky Brain.
Sticky Brain, my new nickname.
Your new moniker. Heavyweight champion, returning, number 5.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. David Sedaris. My God, I couldn't love someone more.
Our most frequented guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an honor to have him as our most frequented guest.
God.
If I had to pick a most frequent... A tie between him and Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, we got some good ones.
We got a couple of good repeat offenders. Sedaris is a humorist, a comedian, an essayist, a best-selling author, a radio contributor. He's on the television on one of those morning shows. He's got kind of an Andy Rooney vibe on. I love it. His books, Happy Go Lucky, Me Talk Pretty One Day, Calypso, A Carnival of Snackery, the best titles ever.
Yeah.
Dress Your Family and denim and corduroy
and denim.
Corduroy and denim. He is on a 40-city tour across the United States, starting March 30th till May 19th, including Burlington, Vermont, Albany, Philadelphia, Boston, Akron, Detroit, Fort Wayne, Dallas, Nashville, many, many more. Go to davidsedarisbooks.com to see his tour. A lot of armchairs have gone per our suggestion, and I always hear how much they love it. He puts on a great show. I really do recommend you go see him live. There's really nothing like it.
He's a gift.
And as I've been talking about lately, we're listening to his short stories every night before bed. There's one-offs before bed. It's just, it makes me so happy. I love David Sedaris. Please enjoy.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Yeah, my prized possessions are behind me. He was mad that the face wasn't turned out, and I said, I don't care about a fucking picture. I want the writing of this man I idolize.
But he picks them out so specifically that I understand.
Maybe I'll do a glass wall in my next house, and I'll hang it, and you can choose what side you want to see.
Like we went to Egypt in a couple months ago.
You went to Egypt?
Yeah. All the postcards were bullshit. Like there wasn't a single one.
Boring?
And I went to Fiji. I was in Fiji like 2 weeks, the same thing.
I would expect that from Fiji and not from Egypt. Where is this from? No way. That's impossible timing. You just brought up being in Egypt. There being bad postcards, and then here one arrives. And you know what's funny?
I got that in Australia, but it was Egypt, and I wished I brought it to Egypt.
You know what's so nice about this is that I wasn't going to bring up that I haven't gotten a postcard from you in a while, but I've thought about and noticed and been scared that I haven't got a postcard from you in a while, and I would have never brought it up, but here one has arrived, and now I don't have anything to even.
Do you want to read it aloud?
Well, I don't know if that would make the. These are like private exchanges.
This
is like when
it says, "I feel bad." It's not the first time I've cheated on Hugh, but
somehow this one's things for some reason. I want to read this first by myself in my bed,
and then
maybe
might be fun.
on the fact check.
Okay.
Hugh doesn't want postcards, or he doesn't want me to text him. He wants letters with stamps on them.
Okay, that's a high bar. That's a lot.
And you know what? If I'm going to like 44 cities, I have to get the letters printed out.
Wow.
You know, and I have to, it's a big...
That's a commitment.
And I have a lot of stuff to do.
Of course.
Already.
Of course, you're busy. That's why you're there.
It's
okay, I'm going to read it. Thank you. Good idea. Because there's nothing incriminating. But okay. Dear Dax, have you been to Egypt? If you like being hassled and tugged on, it's the place for you. There are 100 million stray cats there, so it's good too if you're afraid of mice. I didn't see a single one in Australia now. Sincerely, David Sedaris.
Oh, that's a good
these are my, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. These are like the treasures of treasures.
That's why
we have the fires. I put my journals in a huge fucking suitcase, and then I grabbed this off my wall.
We were just talking last night. We had dinner with somebody.
You can name drop.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh, my goodness.
She looked out her window and saw flames, so she had to evacuate, and she didn't grab anything. She couldn't think of What? And so we were talking about what would you grab?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
What did you say?
Picasso painting, this big,
Yeah.
grabbable.
See, I'm jealous that you have that because in all these different fears I have, like somehow I'll still end up penniless. I'm still convinced that'll happen. I would like
I am
one
too.
item that I could just put in a backpack and land somewhere and be like, okay, well, I will have rent for some time. This Picasso is going to still be valuable.
And it's small.
Yeah.
It's petite.
And I have a Franz Klein painting that isn't much bigger, so I could put that in the same tote bag.
You're set.
Do you want to explain the value of art to Dax? Because he has a hard time understanding it.
Well,
Art, like painting.
I understand it.
Well, you
There's
fight back
one.
against it.
My argument is if you enjoy the image,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the difference between a nice print in the original work of art, unless you're collecting it for an investment.
Money.
But like if your claim is just, I look at this and I feel a certain way, I think it's a mental trick that because it's only one of them, I feel even a more different way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if you told me that you had a Picasso print,
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, that's nice.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't tell anyone I had one. This would just be for me to sit in a room and stare at and get whatever transcendent thing you all are
if you
claiming to
said-
get from it.
You had a Picasso painting.
Yeah.
I would say, oh God, I'd love to see it. Because, I don't usually go to museums because what they have isn't, I can't buy it.
Well, the vagina soap museum you went to changed our life.
The vagina stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But I went to a museum, I don't know, I was somewhere a while ago and I had time on my hands. And I looked at the Picasso paintings that they had. And he was such a forerunner and such a genius. And the surface of those paintings was so alive. And no one has anything. No one can touch that guy. Picasso was an asshole.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when you stand before his paintings,
He's a genius.
you don't know.
Why do you have
He's a
to
genius.
force
Yeah, he
yourself
is.
to go through all of his worst moments?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that it's really troubling for people with artists and art, but no one is like, guys, bad news. Einstein raped his niece. E equals MC squared. Like, we can't touch it no more. No one has any issue with any kind of scientific breakthrough that was done by a monster. There's no moral dilemma. It's like, if this thing serves me, it's a technology I want. I don't give a fuck what the person who invented it did.
Right.
Yet the art serves you. You can't really make an argument that one's more important than the other. Yet there is this very arbitrary distinction we make between scientists who are pedophiles and shit and then artists that were. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to land one good point today.
But even with writers like Céline,
Okay.
was
That's
monstrous.
the French.
Yeah. You can't deny his skill. You can't deny his
Yeah.
power as a writer. I mean, another thing is he wrote quite a while ago, so it's not like young people are
Getting
flocking
swayed. Yeah.
to read his books. But right now, we're doing something that in 50 years from now is going to be unforgivable.
Exactly.
We can't
we
even
don't know.
imagine it. We're not even thinking, well, it's probably, do you know what I mean?
I already know what it is.
Well, eating animals.
Oh, really?
is
I know what it is, and when I bring it up to my friends and colleagues in Los Angeles, no one wants to acknowledge this. There will be a moment where they'll look back in time and they'll go, so anyways, in LA, in 2025, brown people worked and white people didn't. White people didn't cut their grass. They didn't clean their house. They didn't make their food. They didn't deliver their food. They didn't do anything. It was only brown people that did that stuff. People go, that's nuts. That's going to happen. And when I bring that up to friends, and I'm not saying like fire your Latina housekeeper. I'm just saying like have enough humility to say we're engaged in it now. And they'll go, no. Well, it was a huge improvement from where my housekeeper came from. And I go, that's exactly what the slave trader said. It's the same argument.
I think maybe fossil fuels will be part of
That's-
it. Maybe
yeah.
eating meat will be part
think
of it.
that's gonna be
but
a
that's
big
the
one.
stuff we can suspect. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
that there's things we cannot even.
Yeah.
Truly,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like they wore blue shirts. Can you
Yeah.
believe?
I think the fossil fuels will go more in the category of like, people used to smoke. Like they used to pull smoke into their lungs and then hold it for a minute and do that several hundred times a day. It just seems stupid.
I went to, I have a list on my computer called countries I have been to.
Yeah.
And now my boyfriend Hugh criticizes me because he says I just want to go to a place in order to cross it off my list. But yeah, it's that simple.
Sure.
It means a lot to me. This is what I want to do. We went to Monte Carlo last year. So we went to this Michelin-starred restaurant, and our food just arrived, and 3 men at the next table lit cigars. And then 2 men at the other table on the other side of us said, "Oh, we can smoke cigars." And then the waiter came and said, "How's your meal?" And I said, "Well, now that you mention it," I said, "it tastes like ashtrays." And he said, "Well, we can't say anything." And they couldn't say anything because people were so rich. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like the people smoking the cigars at the next table, it's like, well, we've finished our meal. So the important people have eaten. And I said, well, can I burn a tire at the table?
Right,
That's like what I would like to do. You know, I've got a little money.
Yeah, a little inner tube, a little model glue, set it ablaze.
That's annoying.
I thought maybe the server was going to come back and light up a cigar.
I mean, to think that it just used to be normal.
Oh, yeah. I smoked on an airplane on a flight to Germany when I was 16.
You know, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Was there a time when you couldn't order a drink on an airplane because it was a Sunday?
Oh, I have no knowledge
That's a
of that.
great question.
Or let's say if you were flying over North Carolina, would they say you got to finish your drinks in like a minute because you're flying over North Carolina? Because you couldn't sell liquor on Sunday in North Carolina
I wonder,
until like
it might have to do with the hub of the plane. So like in Georgia, Delta is a Atlanta plane, and at one point, I think you can drink there now on Sundays or buy liquor, but at one point you couldn't. So maybe you wouldn't be able to on that plane.
What if you were
But on United, you could.
What if you're taking a red eye, David, and you left New York at like 1:45 a.m., and then you could have one drink, and then it was 2, but then as soon as you got to Chicago and back, all of a sudden it was 1:46 again, and everyone got to have a round, and then you just chased the time change for the 2 a.m. cutoff. Although I guess in New York it's 4 a.m. That scenario would work great leaving Detroit because it's 2 a.m.
one of the things you don't count on when you write is you're dated so quickly. You know, like even if you write something about, I didn't have, people not having exact change for the flight attendant. Because there was a kind of man who would get on a plane and buy a drink with a $20 bill, and he knew the flight attendant wouldn't have change.
Right.
Right. Whereas my mother always taught me, if you have a $20 bill, buy a newspaper, buy some gum, buy something in the airport so you can have correct change when you order a drink.
Because they would not give you change.
Well, they would, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Then the flight attendant has
it's
to
just
go.
a kindness.
Yeah, if everybody pays with the 20, the flight attendant's like, fuck. And the flight attendant used to go down the aisle saying, does anybody have any change for...
sure.
Right. Do you feel very protective of flight attendants? Because I do. Monica saw me get into it with a first-class customer that was sitting in front of us. And in rapid order, he was at the bulkhead, and he had his bag in front of his feet. And there's nobody that doesn't know you can't have your bag there, right? So they ask him to put it away. Oh, yeah, I'll get to it. And then he doesn't. And then they come, now they really need to take off. Sir, we really need you to put I thought I could get it by you. No, you can't. Right. So I'm flagging him. We're right behind him. I'm like, I don't like this guy, and I'm going to pay attention to everything he does. So then the next thing was she came to say, have you made a selection for lunch? Mm-hmm. He said, what are the options? She's like, the menu's right next to you. Well, just tell me the options. We have a short rib, and we have a chicken breast.
No, she said chicken.
Chicken. Mm-hmm. It was a chicken thigh. And he said, is that white meat or dark meat? And I wanted to go like, how could you have gotten to 56 years old and not know the thigh is fucking dark meat? Why are you making this woman? So then I needed to pee. He had gotten up to pee. I'm like sitting on the fucking, side of my handle, whatever, the armrest. Like clearly I want everyone behind me to know, don't get up and try to, I've claimed that I'm next. Right. So when he exits, he sees I'm in the waiting position to go in. So he gets to his seat, which is one row in front of us, and then he decides to like open up the thing, and he's just kind of looking around. He's not even grabbing his bag. He's just blocking it. And then I just, like a hockey player, I just fucking ran through him and shoulder checked him into the seat. Yeah. Do you like the ending of that story? Monica didn't like
There's
it.
more. No, that's not the end of the story.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there is a really
There's
great...
an important piece to this, which all that happens, Dax is being very aggressive. And look, I hate that guy, right? Like, that's annoying that he's behaving that way. But I'm more concerned about his behavior than I am about this stranger, right? So then...
Because I represent you.
Yeah. And you know better. Like, then why cause even more chaos?
Because someone needs to smack this guy on the nose. That's why. That's very simply why.
Anywho, so then he causes this ruckus. He sits down, and a few minutes later, the guy turns around and says, "Hey, I saw you we were at South by Southwest. Dax did he did
I hosted a panel.
Yeah, he hosted a panel. This guy turns around, "Hey, I saw you last night doing the panel. You were so great." Like, he was so nice to him.
You're going to like the end of this story, actually.
Worse, then we had to Google who he was.
Well, I was like, oh, no. He was at that panel. We are just signing a deal with Amazon. That was an Amazon movie. Did I just fucking shove one of our new bosses? And then I'm like, now I'm staring through the gap in his thing. And when he lifts up his laptop to do some work, thank God it says his full name on this sign in for his password. And then the second we land, I like open it up and I find out, I was like, oh, he's just a fucking lawyer. I knew it. He was like a lawyer representing one of the actors that was on the panel.
It's so funny, though, how you can be on a plane and have a towering hatred for somebody, and they have no idea.
No idea.
Of it.
Oh, I would have given anything to fight him in a parking lot. Like, that's how mad I was at how he was treating this flight attendant.
I was in Australia a little while ago, a couple weeks ago. And then they made an announcement. They said the flight to Tasmania is full. So we're asking you to gate check your bag. Mm-hmm. If you don't care to, and you want to bring your bag on the plane, you'll soon find yourself in a situation where there's no room for your bag. We will gladly send it on the 4:00 flight. So that's a way to do it.
Yeah, big threat.
That's a way to do it. And this guy, I just had a knapsack, and I had something else under my seat, and I had my knapsack in the overhead bin. So he puts his bag in there, and he's pounding on it, pounding. And it won't go in all the way because my knapsack.
Yeah.
And I said, I think it won't go in there because my knapsack. So he pulls my knapsack out and puts his bag in and says, what do you want me to do with this now?
No, we didn't.
Stop it.
I said, just go. I said, and I was in first class. I said, just wherever you are back there. I said, just go.
Just keep on walking. Oh, my God. That is so crazy, though, that he
Now, does that guy, should he get shoulder checked?
He doesn't
What's
need
the
to
line?
get shoulder checked.
What needs to happen to him? Something must happen to him.
You say, put it back, please.
Okay. And he goes, eat this ass.
I saw a flight attendant once. A guy was pounding on a bag to get it in. The flight attendant turned to me and said, I just thank God it's not a living thing. But I had a towering hatred of a flight attendant.
Ooh.
That can happen too.
Yep.
He was standing at right at the door of the plane, and he said, can I get you something to drink, young man? And so I just ignored him. Mm-hmm. And he said, young man. And I ignored him. And he said, young man. And I said, God. I'm not young. So I mean, why don't you just say old man? Because that's
right.
what you mean.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, is he? Oh, because you think he was.
That's his charm.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, that's your charm.
He's going to flatter you because you want to hear that you're
You
young.
see it a lot with bellmen at hotels, too.
Yeah,
Can I help you with that bag, young man? And it just...
It
And
feels
they say it
patronizing.
to women more.
Yeah.
They'll say it to like a twisted stick figure, with a walker. Hey, young lady. And she's supposed to say, he thinks I'm young.
Right.
She waddles off.
Here's my new thing.
Okay.
And again, all right, I go on these tours, and that's why I'm traveling, and somebody else is paying for my ticket, and I'll admit it, I'm in first class. So you're thinking you don't have that much to complain about. Look, you're in first class, right?
Yeah.
But the flight attendant kneels and looks at the manifest and says, Mr. David, what would you like? And I'll say now, oh, can I see the manifest for a second? I say, see, it says David Sedaris. I said, David is my first name. My last name is Sedaris, so I'd be Mr. Sedaris. And it's just laziness on their part because they don't want to take a chance on pronouncing your last name.
okay.
So they just call you whatever your first name is. And it's like, that's just laziness. Part of my job when I sit down and write books is to pronounce people's names when they put them in front of me on a Post-it note. That's part of my job.
Right.
And I pride myself on it. And if I'm wrong about a name, someone recently, you know those Irish names? Someone said, "Oh, those Irish names, they always look like a Wi-Fi password."
Yeah. And do they have some symbols above their alphabet too? They play with.
And those can be hard, but if you worked at the airport or something, you'd get them after a while. You would
Sure.
Chinese names, you'd get them if you took an interest and asked people.
Right.
Yeah.
And you would say yes, whenever you were right about them. So I just object to the laziness.
My good friend, my childhood friend, who's just out, Ken Kennedy. He lived in
Kennedy.
Ken
That's
Kennedy,
really nice.
which is great. I've used his name in many movies if I have to improv because it has such a great alliteration. So Ken Kennedy, he lived in Novi, Michigan, and he grew up on Buckminster Way. And one night he was coming home from work and he got pulled over by a cop, and the cop came up to the window, license and registration, looks at us and he goes, "You have any idea why I pulled you over tonight, Mr. Buckminster?"
Oh.
He saw his street name and thought his name was Buckminster, like really trying to hand it to him, but it was a big mistake. It was a street name.
Buckminster is my first name. My last name is Street. It would be
It's
Mr.
Novi,
Street.
Michigan. Yeah, street.
It was interesting. When I was in Australia, not a single person waiting for me at the baggage claim, to take me into town said, "How was your flight?" Which I hate. If you ask me how my flight was, you're just dead to me.
Right.
And I've said to people before, that's such a bad icebreaker. And I know. Then why do you?
You'll say that you'll call that out?
Yeah.
Okay.
At a hotel, not a single person said, "Welcome in. How are your travels?" Like, not a single person.
Right.
They would say instead, maybe, "Gosh, that suitcase, are those, how do the wheels work on that? Are those good wheels on the suitcase?" Just the actual question.
Something specific
Yeah.
that you could actually answer. Yeah.
That it never felt gimmicky. I don't know. It just
You
felt
don't like
more.
platitudes.
Yeah. It just felt more genuine.
Yeah.
But like a corporate personality is no personality.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. It's just like getting through every
But do
single
you think
thing.
everyone has to have a personality that you interact with?
No, I'm not opposed to it. Like,
It's preferable, right?
I like it
it's
if I'm
preferable.
going to the security check
Yeah.
at the airport and that person has a personality.
Me too.
Love that. TSA guy, personality, love that. Yeah, everybody I'm happy.
You know who I don't want to have a personality? Is the pilot. Sometimes you're on a Southwest flight.
God.
And they kind of pride themselves on that they make jokes. And that's not who I want making jokes.
But I was on tour in the fall and I went to Chicago and I was checked in by a woman with Down syndrome.
Okay.
And
At a hotel or at the airport?
at the airport. She checked me in for my flight.
Okay.
And she had a very hard time pronouncing the name of the city I was going to.
Sure.
But it was a difficult name. And a lot of times if you have Down syndrome, your tongue is kind of thick, so it can be hard to say.
Yeah.
So I had to ask twice. I had to ask a question. But it just made me feel, I thought, wow, why haven't I seen this before?
Yeah.
And then I started thinking they should hire a guy with Down syndrome, or it could be a woman, dressed in a pilot's uniform to stand at the front of the plane at the beginning of every flight and say, "We'll be flying over South Dakota." And then all the people who get off the plane immediately would be the right people. And then we could just take off.
They would be the right people.
Yeah, just
'Cause you
hire
think
people
good
with Down
people would
syndrome
go
to
along.
pretend they were the pilots. Yeah.
And you think that's like a test of
It just weeds
something.
out.
Yeah.
Oh, the riffraff.
That's interesting because I don't want to get political, but when I was sounding the alarm a year ago, going, guys, Biden, he's too old. We must have another option, and people were offended by that. And my analogy was, if you got on an airplane and Biden came out of the cockpit and was like, "Oh, you would get the fuck off." And isn't running this huge country more important than flying in one airplane? I thought that was a good analogy.
It was it
Thank you.
is a good one.
Thank you so much. It's probably tied with your Down syndrome analogy.
and it bothered me when people took that and said, well, you're just being ageist. And it's like, no, there are people his age who are vital.
Yeah.
You know, he's not vital. He's
Right.
not, and you would just be on the edge of your seat. Like, it's like having your kid in the school play. Like, you're so afraid they're going to
Yes.
fuck up. Every time he opened his mouth, I was like, oh, please. It was just anxiety
I couldn't even
causing
watch, like, people are like, did you watch the debate? And I'm like, no, I would never watch that. I can't watch that. I don't want to see, like, those, that was a rage on YouTube years ago, like bum fighting, right? Like, they pay two homeless guys to fight, bum fighting. I'm like, I don't want to see that. Yeah, there's
I
nothing
never heard of
enjoyable.
that.
You haven't
Wow.
heard of bum fighting?
Bad.
Oh, it's so nasty.
I was in the Philippines a couple of years ago, and I was on a television show called Wow Wow Wee. Like, they invited me to be on this show. And they would, the host, like, people there are so desperately poor, and people would wait in line for, like, days to get into and the host would, you know, so you give the host money, right? So he gets a fistful of money, and he says, I've got $100 here for the craziest dancer. And then there'll be, like, people in their 80s who are, like, like breakdancing, and like really humiliating themselves in order to get the money. And it was like, I didn't know the show was going to be like this. I mean, it was really, really.
What did you do? Every now and then you're on a show and it goes somewhere and you're like, fuck, I'm just standing now in this situation.
Yeah, I was just brought on, and then I gave money to the host to give away. And then I saw what was happening, and it was like bum fighting. It was just really,
it is a version of that.
That seems like it would be in the Bible under things not to do.
Yeah. If you look up exploitative, I think there should be some mention of bum fighting if you look that word up in the dictionary. Is that the word, exploitative?
Okay, but is this just as bad? So I was in Pakistan.
Okay.
And this man came up and he was begging for money. And I said, I will buy your shawl, you know? And then he was like, oh, I'll give you the shawl. And he was trying to give it to me because that's what people are like there. If you say to somebody, I like your glasses, they give you your glass. And I'm like, no. Luckily, there was someone who could translate. And I said, you want money from me, and I want something from you, so I pay you.
Yeah.
And I mean, the money I was paying him for his shawl was like 50 times what the shawl was.
Right.
You were just making it a
But
transaction.
he wanted to give me the shawl.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, it's nicer for you if it's a transaction too. You know?
Yes, it's clean.
'Cause you're not begging me for anything.
Yeah.
I'm just a customer buying. Anyway, we finally made that understood. And then we went over here, and then we came back, and he already had a new shawl on, and he was like modeling it. And then I was like, I want that one too. And I realized everything just looked better on him. You know?
You just wanted to have his frame.
He was just a good model. Oh my God, that is so
I have a similar situation, and really who it bit the most in the ass was Kristen, which was I was in Italy, and I have a good relationship with Ducati. And I got to tour the factory where they make the motorcycles in Bologna. And the tour was given to me by this very, very nice man who did not speak nearly any English. And he had a very cool vintage Ducati leather jacket on. And I had mentioned 2 or 3 times how awesome his jacket was. And at the end, he took off the jacket and he tried to give it to me. And I was like, oh, no, I absolutely cannot accept this vintage jacket, right? So I was successful in not taking the jacket, but I was so moved by this gesture. He said, oh, I'm going to LA, Los Angeles. Yes, I'm coming. And I was like, you must stay with us.
Oh, God.
I was really panicked because the gesture was so nice. And I said, you must stay with us if you're in Los Angeles. And he fucking did. This man came for a week at our old house, and I was working the whole week shooting a show, and Kristen wasn't working. There was just an Italian man in our house that spoke almost no English.
You should have taken the jacket at that point.
I know.
Then it's an
Hey, bring
actual.
that jacket when you come.
That would have been fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. I regret not taking the jacket after he was there, day 7. Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
I went to Australia with my friend Dawn, and her dad had a music store, and he would get a lot of letters from prisoners. You know, like, oh, can you send me some guitar strings? Or can you send me this? And he was a lovely man, Dawn's father. Anyway, so people would get out of prison and they wouldn't have any place to go. And so they'd go to...
Oh, my God.
And so Dawn would be at home alone
Oh, no.
with someone who'd just gotten out of prison,
Oh, my God.
stole from her jewelry box.
Oh, God.
It's just
Sometimes kindness can really bite you.
It can
I mean,
backfire
it
big
really
time.
can. Actually, this is interesting when you were talking about the shawl. Like, for us, it's humiliating, right? For him to just give you something and then you're giving money. But I guess, is it humiliating? Is it objectively? Not really, right? If they want the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Emotionally, it feels just like horrible to watch it, but also they don't feel horrible.
when I was in Australia a few weeks ago, there was a hotel that had a notice at the desk that said, "We are cash free," and then it said, "Money can contain like, I don't know, it was like 163 bacterias, something like that."
Yeah.
And then they had written, "We charge a X fee for using the credit card."
No.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, when I was in Egypt, there was this kid selling big balloons. And they weren't inflated, but you'd inflate them yourself, right? And they were just big. I thought, oh, they'd be good to give away to people at a book signing or something. So I bought all the ones that he had, and I gave him money. And he kissed the money.
Oh.
And the money there is, you have to have a big stack of it. Like if $100 would be such a big stack of money, you could barely close your wallet. And it really stinks. Like the money really stinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And here was this kid kissing it, you know, and this other place won't even take it.
Exactly.
You know, and they don't know what stinky money is. Like Australian money is like that plasticky money you could put in the dishwasher if you wanted to, and it would come out fine.
Yeah. I guess nothing's objective.
Were you doing readings in Australia?
Yeah,
Okay, so you tour worldwide.
yeah.
What are some of the countries? Australia.
I went to England and did something, and then I went to Australia, and that was just a vacation. And then I went to New Zealand, and then I went to Australia, and then I went to Fiji, but that was just a vacation.
Okay.
And then I went to Hawaii, and that was for work
Well, if they were all vacation, everyone you said was vacation.
here. But when I was in Hawaii, someone told me I was on Hilo, right? In Hilo on the Big Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Someone said, oh, there was a woman who recently had a baby on the ground. She just had a baby on the ground. And then she just stopped. The baby came out of her, and then she kept walking, and she was just, the baby was being dragged by its umbilical cord.
What? No.
And then that's what I said. And they said, no, it happened in front of Pineapple's restaurant. And lots of people saw it.
In front of Pineapple's restaurant.
In front of Pineapple. And I said, what was the baby's drag name? They said it was her 11th child.
And she just
She
kept
didn't give a
walking.
fuck.
But you know what?
Oh.
If you were at 11,
I know.
you might be like, yes.
It's fine.
Yeah. I'm not in a position to judge. I haven't had 11.
God.
I want an update from you. Where are you at on your smile journey? Because we've kind of caught you throughout your progress. Like you had gotten all your teeth fixed, but you were telling us that even though they're fixed, you still just have this muscle memory where you hate to smile.
Yeah. I don't do it in front of the mirror. Like I still can't look at my teeth. I had to go to the dentist the other day, and she held up the mirror, and I'm like, have we not been through this? Like I can't look
I don't ever want
at
to
my mouth. Like I can't. I think I've had, during the pandemic, I got those Invisaligns, right? Because I had massive gaps between and that would make me always feel like, you know, if I was at a nice hotel, checking into a hotel, I would feel them thinking, you don't belong here, you know?
Right.
Or if I was.
When they were gappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the Invisalign, but just when they were gappy.
But,
yeah.
Or in the front
you
of
had
the
more
plane.
my story at the
right.
time, yeah.
That they would be like, you don't really belong here.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that way anymore. It's shocking not to feel that way. Like no one's ever said to me, you have beautiful eyes. Just no one's ever said it. to me, right? I don't know what that's like
Right.
to have beautiful eyes, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
nobody ever said, "Oh, you have such a nice smile." And then somebody said it to me after I got my teeth fixed, and I thought, I never in my life thought I would ever hear that from anyone.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like
Did it feel good or
Just
did
a
it feel like
miracle.
a cheat?
there are women who have just magnificent breasts.
Me.
Just born with magnificent breasts.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then
sitting with
I
one.
think if somebody else then has a maid, the woman, like, oh, you know what? Okay, this is a better analogy.
Okay.
I don't know that I still have them, but I used to have magnificent calves. They were like Popeye's arms, my
Nice.
calves, right? Like bowling balls,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then people started getting calf implants,
Right.
and it's like, well, I have big calves because I'm short. It's something you get as a bonus, and because I walk
You
so
earned
much,
it.
Right,
and
right.
you just paid to have your big calves. But ultimately, I don't really care.
Yeah. This
if
is the
that's-
Ozempic conversation for a lot of people,
Yeah.
I think.
I was picking up trash in England, and I found a strap-on penis that was like an inch and a half long.
It's just a micro
They
penis.
sell that.
And I thought, who are you going to fuck? A Cabbage Patch doll? I mean, that's
Wow,
small.
there's a kink for everything. Wow.
Maybe they were in love. I got to pick the right species that would be smart enough to be consenting. Like maybe they were in love with the small chimpanzee. And they wanted to consummate the relationship. We've talked about this a lot. Like, is there an animal you could be like that is morally fine to be in love with? And we've concluded that female humans can guilt-free date male dolphins. Because male dolphins are so horny. They constantly are getting caught trying to fuck the people they're swimming with. They're perverts. And there's these scientists that studied them, and the dolphins fucked some of the scientists. We don't think it's right for a male human to fuck a female dolphin,
Yeah, of
but
course.
vice versa is totally fine with us. What's your verdict on that?
Gosh.
Because bonobo chimps are famously very horny. So I think I'd be fine with a male bonobo chimp
I'd be-
dating a female.
No, I'd be better with a water creature. I just think it would just be more sanitary, I guess.
Okay.
But
But ethically.
It's more an ethics question.
A friend recently showed me a YouTube video, and it was Spanish feminists protesting the rape of chickens. And I thought, oh, who would be so low as to rape a chicken? They meant roosters.
The roosters were
Yeah.
raping
Oh,
the chicken.
And then their point was
God.
that if you have free range chickens, right, and a rooster starts raping a chicken, the chicken can run away or something. But if they're in close
You can
captivity,
corner them.
the chicken doesn't have any. And then I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
that
fine.
That does have
You know?
some backing behind
I'm
it,
okay
I
with that.
guess.
I can get down
like
with that.
snapping turtles, like a female snapping turtle has no peace. The male is just
Constantly
constantly on
raping
top of her.
orangutans too.
But at least they can, I don't know, try to swim away or try to escape or something in a way that they couldn't if they were.
They also must be master disassociators because they can just literally leave the world and go inside their shell. They can really disassociate quite literally. I read the hem of his garment this morning, which is phenomenal. It was in the New Yorker September, I guess, of last year. But that's a pretty crazy story. Will you tell Monica that you got invited to go meet the Pope?
The Pope wanted to meet with humorists and comedians from around the world.
Wow.
So I was just minding my own business, and then I got an email, and I guess it had been sent earlier, but it didn't get to me, and it said, the day after tomorrow, you're
Day
invited to
after
meet
tomorrow.
the Pope. And I was in England, so it was an easy flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I thought, I'm not a Catholic, and I honestly don't care about the Pope, but I
Yeah.
thought it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'd be dumb not to do it. So I went,
Exactly.
and I met the Pope.
There was 100 of you invited?
Yeah. A lot of them were, when I came back, I was like, I met Chris Rock, because he was one of the people.
Oh,
like,
wow.
That to me was more like, oh my God, I can't believe I met Chris Rock.
Right.
Yeah, you
so
listed
nice.
every comedian that was invited virtually in the article, and you're like, each one of those people I would want to hang out with for sure and meet more than the Pope. But
Right.
they're going to be there, so this is kind of like a fast pass to meet all these other people I would.
And then there were people there too who were, most of the comedians and were Italian.
Okay.
And most of them were Italian, but they were from all over the world. Like I met this one woman who is from Switzerland. I met her, and I met. There was an Italian woman who spoke. She was the only person to speak, and I'd met her before. She's an Italian.
Yeah.
She's an Italian, very, very well known Italian comedian. And when I met her, she had just adopted 2 teenagers from Romania.
Oh, wow.
Teenagers.
Wow.
And they were taking her canceled checks and selling them because they had her autograph on them.
Oh, my
Right.
God.
They were gypsies.
Yeah.
It's almost
And then she thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And so, anyway, so I asked about the kids, and they're doing great.
Oh, they're great. They're in jail.
Yeah,
I
everything,
see them once a month.
everything worked out. So we just went, and the Pope read something to us.
That's what I don't understand. Like, I would presume if I were you, he wants to have some kind of dialogue.
Right, that's
As
what I
you
thought.
said,
Yeah.
even in the article. Yeah. Why have you guys all come and then he sits in a chair and then this woman makes a speech and then that's that? What was gained from this?
She made a speech that was like, I don't know, 45 seconds long.
Oh.
And then
That's not
he
even a speech.
read a speech, and it was in Italian.
Did anyone ever translate it to you?
Yeah, they gave us a copy of it. Mm-hmm. And it basically, he could have saved time. Laughter makes the world go round, is essentially what he said.
Okay.
So he was thanking you guys.
It sounds more like he was
sort of.
acknowledging your contribution to the planet.
No, he was just saying like, it helps to laugh.
Why don't you all fly here
Like
so I
God
can
would
tell
like
you?
us to laugh, and
Yeah.
I think he's trying to be
laughing's okay.
progressive. He's a progressive pope,
Yeah.
right? That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I
But
think
he had said faggotry twice
Yeah.
in the 3 weeks preceding David's arrival.
Oh,
He
my
said
God.
it in Italian, but it translates
Yeah.
to faggotry.
But he was saying there was too much faggotry in this seminar, and then which I thought was just funny. And then he apologized, and then he said it again.
Oh my
But
God. Oh my God.
He's 86.
He is.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So and there were people, I can't believe you went, and I would have boycotted. I wouldn't have gone. He said faggotry, but the Pope cannot perform a gay marriage. But
yeah.
he was blessing gay couples about to be married.
Yeah.
He did he's a very progressive guy for a Pope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sat there and we all met him.
You shook his hand.
Yeah.
Friends of yours had advised you should kiss his ring. Then others said, no, you don't. He actually doesn't like getting
Yeah,
his ring
this one
kissed.
doesn't like getting his ring kissed.
So, when you watched Conclave, did you watch Conclave?
Loved it.
It's
I
so
loved it. But you
good.
must have had a particular interest having just been there and experiencing
Did you
that.
cry when you watched Conclave?
I didn't cry. Did you?
I cried when the guy from South America, was he from South America? When he spoke in Spanish, when he starts off speaking English and then it moves into Spanish. And it was so beautiful. What he said was so beautiful. And the Spanish was so beautiful. And his face, I don't know. I just thought, wow, that's like, I'm not a religious person and I'm not a Christian and I'm not but I thought, I'll follow you. When he said that.
Yeah.
And what he said was that the church is not the past and the church is not, I don't know, this or that or whatever. He said the church is what happens next. I don't even know what it means. But
Right. It's like
you're
a great
so
song you don't know the lyrics to. but
tears
it's your
to my
favorite.
eyes. And I
Yeah.
saw it and I rented it. So I saw it and then I played that again and again and again and again
Wow.
and again and again. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
it
did
was.
too.
It was
Clothes
so
in that
well.
movie, I mean, come on. They're remarkable.
Well, that's
Yeah.
where the story goes.
Well, because there were 100 people there, right?
Yeah.
And you figured every single one of them was going to put it into a routine. Every single person.
Yeah.
So what would my take be? Mm-hmm. And my take was the clothes.
Yeah.
The clothes. And then I went to a place that's been dressing the Pope.
Well, before you get to there, I need to know, are you off the dome that knowledgeable about all those articles of clothes, or do you yourself have to do some research when you write that piece?
I looked up the names of things because I didn't know those. But
And they're inherently interesting, those names. Like, they're words I've never heard.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ooh, I'm intrigued
like,
by this.
cassock, that's pretty simple.
Cassock,
But then
that's
there was
interesting.
the sash is called, gosh, I don't remember the name, aphasia.
Yeah.
I like it when I read something and there's technical language in there.
Me too.
Like, not too
Yeah.
much, but just some of it.
Yeah.
And I was trying to describe the clothing as well. And then I went to a place that's been dressing the Pope for 300 years. And I thought they wouldn't sell to a layman.
Sure.
And you went with Julie
Louis-Dreyfus.
Julie
She went with
Louis-Dreyfus.
me.
Oh,
Which I think is so fun. What could be more fun than having her in tow?
Oh, she was just fantastic.
So you were trying to think of a ruse by which you'll be able to buy
Yeah.
these robes.
And then they gave me, it takes 9 months to have one made. But then they had one that was never picked up for some reason. So
Okay.
anyway, I walked right out the door with
off
it.
the rack.
Yeah. And then I started wearing it just out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. Like, I wore it in London, where it's not a Catholic country.
With the
whole
collar?
thing?
Yeah, with the collar and everything.
Oh my
my.
God.
And then would see me from a distance and then look away when they got close. Like, they couldn't look at my face.
They're scared you'll see all their sins just screaming across their face.
I don't know, because again, it's not a Catholic country.
But I'm an atheist. And I don't like looking at a priest. So I'm like, he can see what a scumbag I am. This is his stock
that's
and trade. He's
interesting.
like, you fucking need to come in, you know. I think it triggers that in people, like, oh, we're in trouble.
Maybe that's it. Oxford Street in London, right? It's like there's a shift change, right? And at 6 o'clock, Christians go home and Muslims take over.
Oh, really?
Oh, interesting.
Even the beggars on the street,
Really?
right? They'll
What?
go home and are replaced by beggars from the Middle East. right?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And so everybody on Oxford Street after a certain time at night is Muslim,
Yeah.
and often they're dressed in, I don't know the names for the clothing.
Yeah.
but
Right.
and there I was treated differently. There people looked me in the face.
Oh,
Because they're living a very pure life.
Yeah, well, they were living a religious life.
Yeah.
And then I felt like they were looking at me like, whatever, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I guess, you know, if you want to believe that, go ahead. But
Right.
we're both wearing black. And so it was interesting.
That is interesting.
I can't imagine anything more amusing than being on a trip to London and knowing who you are and then just looking over and seeing you strolling around in a priest's outfit.
I
That's
would
really
be
spectacular.
dying.
I'm almost jealous of anyone who saw you and knew who it was.
It you know, it has 33, or is it 32 buttons, one for
don't
each year
know.
of Christ's life.
Okay.
Oh,
And so you're
33.
supposed to think about that every time. The second, I tell you, the second time you put it on, you're pulling it over your head. You know, or you're wishing that he was crucified at 12. You know, so it only. That is a lot of work. I wore it on stage one night, and the lights were really hot.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to unbutton it and not be while I'm reading.
Will you tell Monica your joke about Epstein nails?
A man dies, and he has a company that sells nails, and he dies, and he turns it over to his son-in-law. And one day he opens a newspaper, and he sees a full-page ad, and it's a picture of Jesus on the cross, and it says, "We used Epstein nails." And the guy calls his son-in-law and says, "Are you out of your mind? This is no way to sell our product, right?" A couple of days later, he opens a newspaper and he sees a picture of a cross, and lying face down in the dust in front of it is Jesus Christ, and the caption says, "They didn't use Epstein nails."
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
What I like about that too is that people think like it's a Jewish joke. It's not. It's just a dummy joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke about a dummy. you know?
Yes.
The best joke I've heard lately, someone told me at a book signing, was a guy wakes up in the hospital following a horrible accident and says, "Doctor, I can't feel my legs." And the doctor says, "I know, I just amputated both your arms."
That's great. You know, I was just watching. It's funny what you just said about, like, you think it's a joke about one thing and then it's not. And that's why it's actually funny, because it's actually not offensive. But you're scared that it is, and then you're like, oh, I can laugh. There's like a relief in it. I was watching Shane Gillis's stand-up.
Have you watched him?
Have you seen him?
Oh, you would absolutely love it.
He's very, very funny. But it came out like a year ago, and a lot of people watched it. And I remember Kristen was like, "I don't think you should watch it. Like you won't like it," to me. And I was like, "Huh." So I didn't. And then since then, we've had some other people on who are, I do think are offensive. So then I was like, okay, I want to see this guy and see. And I don't find it offensive at all. Because to me, it's so nuanced who you're making fun of. And that to me is the difference between what's offensive and what's not.
Isn't he really sweet?
He's really sweet. And then back to, I almost brought this up when you were talking about the Down syndrome check-in person, which is he has several family members that have Down syndrome, and he has opened up a bagel and coffee shop in the small town he's from that's run entirely by these Down syndrome people. And he goes, yeah, it's running. It's up. People go in, and, it's going exactly how you think it would.
Yeah, he says there's a really long line, not because.
Well, there's a place is it Savannah or is it Columbia, South Carolina? And it's a coffee shop, and everyone who works there has Down syndrome, or some people have brain damage. They were in an accident or something like that. And it's so funny because they don't take cash because making change is too much.
Yeah.
When you get a coffee, it just takes a really long time to get it, and it's filled up to the very top. But you just feel really good.
Yeah, of course.
Someone told me about a place in Dallas called Howdy, and it's an ice cream parlor, and everybody who works there has Down syndrome. And so I said, I'm going.
Yeah.
And we went, and they make the ice cream too, and they had Dr. Pepper ice cream, which I would have tried it, but it had chocolate chips in it, and I can't eat chocolate.
You can't eat chocolate.
But it's such a good idea for a business because you don't care. I mean, it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah,
but,
you're happy.
The Shane guy, is he Southern?
He's from, I think, Pennsylvania.
I know what you mean, though, that sometimes I think people hear a word and then they've you're making a joke at the expense of something. And it's like, no, you weren't really listening. You stopped at the word.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you didn't listen to the rest of it.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot.
Yeah. I think that's what separates a very, very good comedian from like a shock jock or something that's like just, and to some people it can all sound the same, but it's really, really not.
I'm glad you liked him. I think he's
I
he's the funniest guy. We saw him live at the Greek, and it's the greatest stand-up I've ever seen. You would love his special. What's it called?
Beautiful Dogs.
There was something you said a second ago. Somebody gave me a rape whistle, right? And it was a red whistle, and it was in a plastic bag that had rape whistle written on it, right? And so I put it in, and I thought, I'll give it to a teenager at my book signing, right? Mm-hmm. So I was waiting for the perfect person. The 17-year-old boy came with his mother, and I said, I'm not sure, and I gave it to him, and I said, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I think you're supposed to blow into it the second you start raping someone. Right? And then someone was offended by that, and I thought, no. A woman's being raped. She's got her hands full. It really would be why can't the guy? I mean, it's the least the guy could do is blow into a rape whistle.
Do your part.
Oh, one thing I just want to hear you talk about a tiny bit is in the hem of his garment. You say, I'm not queer, I'm gay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell me the distinction between that.
My objection to queer, right, isn't that it used to be a slur. And it really is a generational thing. Mm-hmm. When I'm signing books, if I meet gay men my age, I say there's not a right answer. I said, but where do you stand on the word queer? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And 90% of them feel the way that I do.
Which is it used to be yelled at you, right?
Right, but I don't care that. Yeah. I don't care that it used to be a slur. It's the fourth time in my life that I've been rebranded. And nobody ever asks. I was in Australia not long ago, and the flight attendants for Qantas were getting new uniforms. Mm-hmm. And I just said to one, I love your uniform now. I love the way the navy blue is next to the red, is next to the pink. The colors are. And she said, well, we're getting new uniforms. And I said, what if you hate them? And she said, we're all getting a chance to vote on them. We're all getting a chance to make suggestions and vote on them.
Yeah.
But nobody did that with queer. The word just changed to queer. And then people say to me, my as a queer writer, and I just like no, I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't pick that.
Yeah, I didn't pick it, and also, it's an umbrella term, right? Somebody, when I was in Australia, somebody said, "Oh, I know a nun who identifies as queer because she's married to God, and that is an alternative sexual state."
Okay.
Right. Most of the people who I meet a lot of women who identify as queer that are married to men, but like they're open to the idea of a three-way or something, so that they identify as queer. And I just don't know why I'm on their team. I just don't.
Right.
You're like, we're not the same.
Right. But somebody lumped us all together, and I just want to know who did the lumping. Or BIPOC. You know what I mean? BIPOC. You
What's
know,
BIPOC?
Black, Indigenous people of color.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's like if you're like a Native American or you're Black, you're BIPOC. You know, it's putting, or you.
But wouldn't you just rather
from
be
Hawaii.
Native American or be Black? Why do you gotta like?
Right, but
Yeah.
somebody decided.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Native Americans or Black people. It was some humanities professor who decided that we're going to invent
It's
this
an
word.
attempt to be, it's so ironic because it's an attempt to be like inclusive, and then and it's not, in fact, it just sort of erases people's identities, individual identities.
I mean, I was just thinking this earlier today. I thought if they were straight people and gay people picking sport teams, right? Picking people for their team, you know.
Yeah.
Gays would say, we'll take the trans. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel like the genderqueer people would be the last ones on the field. You know what I mean? Be like, fuck, we already took the nuns. Okay. Take the genderqueers as well, you know, and they have green hair and their septum rings, and they come over team where they just complain about everything. I did a little CBS thing about CBS Sunday Morning thing about
Yes, I
how
watched
I don't
it.
want to be. And then I don't ever read anything about myself, but apparently my friend Pamela Paul, who writes for the New York Times, right? She said, "Can I quote you for my op-ed piece in the Times?" And then the Times ran a letter, and it was like somebody went off on that aspect of it and called my position problematic. But it's like, if I'm gay, I think I have
The
I think
right.
I have a voice.
Yeah,
I
you have
think
the
I
right.
should be able to say,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yes.
I'm not making, it's not like there are people in Puerto Rico being called something and I say, I don't
Yeah, it's
agree
about
with
you.
that.
Yeah.
It's a word people are directing toward me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, plus I have a problem with problematic. Like if everything's problematic, nothing is.
Yeah,
You know?
that word for me is a big.
It's problematic.
I
It's
get a little.
problematic.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, I do read the comments of this show, and I had made some joke, a Boy Scout joke. I've now forgotten. It was like a Boy Scout leader and a young boy walking into the woods, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
going to go camping. I'm sure you know this.
I got to
one.
walk out alone.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great joke. The little boy goes, "Oh my, I'm so scared. It's so dark." He goes, "How do you think I feel? I'm going to have to walk out alone." It's a great joke. Someone was very mad at me. How dare you make that joke? It's disgusting. And I wrote to them, I was molested. If I earned a single thing out of that, I can fucking make that joke as many times as I want. You can't really tell me. And she goes, "Well, I wasn't, so I don't know, you know." And I was like, yes, you weren't, and you're telling me how to deal with it. And you don't have any business in this, really. That one got me mad, David.
I wrote an essay in the New Yorker about my friend Dawn, my close friend Dawn. And I just said in passing that Dawn, one of her lungs had collapsed. So she was super nervous about COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wore her mask long after everybody else had done so. And she and I were at O'Hare Airport. And I said, Dawn, I think it's time to let it go. I said, look around you. Like nobody else. I said, just let it go, you know? And she took her mask off, immediately got COVID. Right? And so, but the story was about our almost 50-year-old friendship,
Yes, of
right?
course.
So then my publicist called and said, I just think you should know this is happening. And it was like a tidal wave. I was ableist. And I bullied a vulnerable person into taking her mask. I hope she never talks to you again.
Oh my God.
You almost killed her. I hope, I hate people like you who don't. And it never occurred to me. No one was angrier than Dawn because she doesn't identify as vulnerable.
Right.
And you can't bully her into anything.
Right. And
know?
it makes her, it takes away her
victim.
autonomy in this somehow.
It didn't occur to me that anybody, because usually also, if it's a New Yorker, your editor's like, I don't know if it's going to, I don't know about this. No one saw that coming. And then people were so angry about it. And I just didn't know. I don't know. I didn't respond to any of it. I didn't
there's no point.
read it. Some of it got back to me, but I just thought I'd love to meet one of those people.
Yeah, I have that fantasy too. Like, I wonder if I sat and talked with them, could we join the same reality together at some point? Like, I do have a curiosity. Like, some of these people are very mad. I just want to go like, I would love to have lunch with you and see if at the end of that lunch you could really still feel that way.
But as soon as they even meet you for lunch, they're not going to be that. They're not that. That's an online, that's a presence you're able to have when you're not in front of another person. That's an online rage.
I think what's a little bit happened is there was a barrier of effort before where your passing thought to get to you would have involved sitting down and writing on paper and then finding an address and a stamp and all that. So you wouldn't do it. You would just let it remain a passing thought. But now the passing thought, you're already at the keyboard, and it's just like the passing thought can come out. And so I have to often check myself and go like, let's just recognize this person might not even think this. I mean, truly an hour later, they might not have thought the thing that they wrote to me. It's just like, it was in their head that second, and they had the keys right there, and they did it.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
I've only written a comment one time, and it was the New York Times did an article about Tom Brown, fashion designer.
Okay.
And people wrote in like, oh, I can't believe, who would wear that? And I can't believe that's so expensive.
Oh, God.
And I wrote and I said, you don't have to wear the whole outfit, And if you were to hold this jacket, you would understand why it costs so much. And also, somebody's being paid well to make that jacket. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Paid properly.
Yeah. And that's all.
Yeah.
I just thought, and then there was something the other day, people were, going off on, I think sometimes I'm pretty lucky to be my age because I think certain people like Lena Dunham, right, who I've done a show with and spent a little bit of time with and is a lovely person.
Yeah, big time.
And talented person. But I think it's hard for her because of her age. Her audience, her peers rather, grew up online and they just really fucking are brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like Amy Schumer, it's the same thing. Like people are just really brutal. And then I didn't know how to do it, but I was going to comment. Amy Schumer has a new movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
I haven't seen it.
And then it was people like, just.
Yeah.
And I wanted to write like, oh, really? I thought it was really funny. But then I thought, when do I become
a part of the whole cycle?
Yeah. That's kind of my policy. I don't defend myself, but I defend other people I like. I'll get involved in the comments to defend other people. You wrote a children's book, Pretty Ugly. Did people buy it?
Yeah, yes. I mean, it was written 20 years ago.
Oh.
It was?
Yeah,
That
and it was
long ago?
It was written more than 20 years ago, and Ian Falconer did the pictures, but it was for a project of cartoons for kids that the art director for the New Yorker put together.
Right.
And then a couple of years ago, she decided to bring it out as a book. And Ian died a couple months before the book came out. Yeah, but it was done like 20 years ago.
So it was done 20 years ago, but it came out a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, what I love about, because you were on Seth Meyers talking about it, but you're like, there's no message in this book for the kids. There's no lesson and there's no message.
Oh my God,
and then I just loved your defense of that, which was like...
Well, poor kids. I mean, everybody. I mean, and obviously, there's a message. When you look at every children's book, there's a message, and they get caught, and it's not doing any good. You know what I Like they're still assholes.
So like, look at these adults. It didn't work.
Yes, the baseline of piece of shit has not really fluctuated at all. Pre or post all these great books.
I mean, but there's just a lot to be said. I mean, like, what was the message of brain, eggs, and ham? There's not a message, is
Well,
there?
Dr. Seuss was pretty good at. Now, he wasn't beating kids over the head with anything. But you're right. There's this impulse for everyone to teach. I got to teach them a lesson every second they're awake, and it must be exhausting.
Well, you know what's interesting to me too, like the reviews of children's books now, right? And Publishers Weekly and Kirkus, right, which are publications that review new books. And it was so interesting. It said characters' skin color is the same as the page because they all review like the books for diversity. Like what color are the people and how many different, that's a consideration. And I don't read children's books, like I don't.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I don't. There was one that I bought, 20 copies of, and it's a German book.
Oh.
And it's a mole, and someone shed on its head, and it goes to different animals and said, "Did you do this?" And then the horse says, "No, my shit looks like this." And the goat says, "No, my shit looks like this."
This is so German.
So, and it's really beautifully drawn, and
Oh my God, I
it was a
want
great
this.
size. And then it got translated into many different languages.
What's the name of that book? I want to get that.
It's got the word mole
Shisha in it? No.
I think it's got the word mole, and it's like the little mole who wanted to know who did it on his head.
Okay.
And
Sure. How could he not?
and there's not a lesson in it, except you see what horse shit looks like.
Sure.
Yeah, you get educated on scat.
Yeah,
That's
which is
useful.
important.
Well, we did a whole episode on toilets as they vary around the world, and the German toilet in particular is designed with a landing pad so you can examine your shit to diagnose your health. And I was like, that sounds pretty smart.
The first time I went to Germany, I thought, what? Like, at first I thought...
Why is there a staging area for
Yeah.
my turd before it fucking goes into the sewer system? Why is there
Yeah, it's sick. They're sick over there.
I like it.
I know,
like
it's
it.
pretty fun.
When Hugh just had his hip replaced.
Okay, congratulations.
And so when I went with him to the hospital the morning, and so I was with him in this little examining room, and one nurse or one doctor after another came into the room, and they asked questions, and they were all, I gotta say, like, each one of them had a personality, and they were all like, okay. And one of them said to Hugh, "When was the last time you had a bowel movement?" And I said, because we don't do that. We do not do that. We do not talk about that. We do never, ever, 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 ever. And I thought everything could fall apart
You've come
if
so
I listened to his answer. Like, yeah, after 35 years.
35
I'm
years,
so impressed.
I'm shocked because
I'm
I didn't
shocked,
think I
too.
would ever wander into the area that you're a prude. I mean, you acknowledge this is like very prudish of you.
No, I think it's good for a relationship. I just,
A lot of
we
people
just,
think this.
nope, never happened in our house. I mean, I know people who have that relationship.
Right.
You know,
So when you guys get a hotel room, do you make sure you
Yeah.
get a suite that has 2 toilets in it so that you guys can split up? Or
no, but if Hugh were to go into the bathroom, I would
respectfully not
Turn
go
on the
for a while?
TV.
not the TV, but something. I mean, it would depend. Like if there was a bathroom and it had a paper door, right? And he went in there, then I would say, I'm just going to listen to this podcast with these big noise canceling headphones on. Like I would
Yeah.
want
Time
him.
for me to practice my accordion.
Yeah, or I would leave, or I would.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, when we lived in Normandy, we had the bathroom there was one bedroom, and then the bathroom, and then the kitchen. And when we had company, I would say he would be out somewhere, and I would say, "I'm going to go for a walk. I would be back in exactly 20 minutes." You know, so people would know.
Now's the time
Yeah.
to try to get to move your bowels.
Yeah.
I
Wow,
love
this is
I'm
interesting.
surprised, and I do like it. I mean, this
Yeah.
is an ongoing debate for people in relationships. Like, what do you?
Does it ruin the romance?
Does it ruin it?
All this
Well, we had a house guest a while ago who said, I'm going to go downstairs now and take a shit. And I said, "Why do you even say that?" I said, just go downstairs. Like,
I'm glad I know this about you now because I talk about it a lot. And I probably would get myself disinvited had I not known this prior to coming over.
it's just a different way of life.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a completely different.
They're two different paradigms.
Right. People who acknowledge it and say it's a part of life, but
I think it's funny. I think it's very inherently funny. Okay.
I like hearing about it, other people.
Like, do you like a pants shitting story? That's my all-time favorite story.
There's nothing better. I
There's
like your story about
nothing
shitting in your pants. Was it Home Depot?
Yes, bending over to pick up some wood, and the bathroom was a quarter mile away, and and I know there's cameras in there, and I know I'm recognizable, and I'm walking. I've clearly shit my pants. And then I tell you when I got in there, the great relief was there's trash cans in all the stalls at Home Depot, which I think lets you know what the overall health of the laborers in the parking lot is like. Clearly they had so many pairs of underwear in the bin for the paper towel that they were like, we got to put 55-gallon trash cans in each stall.
I was at the airport a few weeks ago and my friend said, oh, look at that man. He looks so good in his seersucker suit. And he was like in his 70s, and I fell in behind him later, and he'd completely shit in his pants.
That's a gift, though. Did you get immediately excited?
No, I felt contempt for him, and I thought I got really early for my flight to the airport. I knew there was a gift shop. I knew they sold clothing. I'm like, why didn't you go and buy a pair of pants or something at the gift shop? And then if you needed to take those serious, if you thought, well, I've had, this is a nice suit, I'm going to put it in a plastic bag. Like there are things, and I thought, you can't not know.
It triggered.
If you sat in someone else's shit, you'd be like,
yeah, it triggered your laziness thing again.
Yeah,
I think that's the recurring theme is that like when you smell laziness,
literally,
like fucking handle your business. It wasn't about anything other than that.
Then I thought, well, maybe he took his underwear off.
And he just still stinks a bit.
Could you see it or you could only smell it?
You could see it.
Oh.
And I thought, all right, what would I have done? So I would have bought the shorts.
Yeah.
If you're that married to the pants, I would have completely washed them in the sink. It'd take some work, but it's seersucker. You could get it done.
Yeah.
If they had a hand dryer, you could go through all that and hand dry them.
Yeah.
And put them on again if you needed to. But I wouldn't even feel confident to do that.
Yeah.
I would have thrown the pants away or wrapped the jacket around your waist.
Right.
Well, I sent Monica a photo one time. I was at the pharmacy and I was in line, and the woman in front of me who was wearing yoga pants had shit herself, and her pants were full of shit. And she was waiting in a very long line, and she was so casual. And I just thought, this woman's a gangster. Like, I couldn't do that. I had to admire the bravery and the fuck itness of her demeanor. I just was like, man, when I shit my pants, I'm racing to handle it. And this one was like, no, I'm going to stop by the pharmacy. That's on my list. God knows where else she went. She might have gone grocery shopping.
I think I would have done. I would have gone to the second person in line, and I would have said, there's a woman back here who shit in her pants. Do you mind if she goes in front of you?
Oh,
Right.
that's...
And then when you led her up there, people would look at the back of her pants and be like, because they'd want to say, hey, and then be like, oh.
Yeah, I was in line for... Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably would have judged her for wearing sweatpants outside the house.
Yeah, there would have been a
then
lot of offensive things for you.
The shit in the back of it would just be secondary.
That'd be the
I would've-
icing on
yeah.
Yeah, the entree would be the sweatpants.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I was earmarking Instagram because Amy's so funny on Instagram.
Oh, she's great at it.
She's so great at it.
my
I
God,
don't know
she's
where she's finding
so
these. She has the most obscure. I implore everyone to follow Amy Sedaris on Instagram. It's probably the best follow on Instagram, other than Shaquille O'Neal. Where is she finding this? Do you ask
She's
her?
just at it all the time.
She's at it all the time.
She's
She's
so
scouring
funny.
the corners though of the internet because she
so
finds.
it's like curated. It's Instagram curated.
She's almost, she's like a museum or she's a curator. She's not posting pictures of herself or anything. It's just.
It's really her point of view. I mean, it's really exactly like you could not get her to put something on there that she doesn't think is funny.
I feel like I know her. I don't know her at all. I've never met her. I feel like I know her better than anyone I know who's posting actual photos of their real life. I'm like, oh, I understand her brain completely by these posts.
I think that that's the best, you know, like when Amy's on a talk show or something, it's different when it's someone in your family because you're like, well, it's not really her. It's like she's,
Yeah.
because it seems more
Arch.
manicky.
Yeah.
And she's not. I mean, one of Amy's best qualities is that she's a really curious person. And I think that's expressed in her Instagram.
Does it ever encourage you to have an Instagram? I feel like I
I
would.
have one, but
You have one?
But I've never seen it.
Okay.
Okay.
So you don't really have one, but the team has one.
Every now and then I'll go to a play and I'll say, oh, would you put this on the Instagram account?
Okay.
Or they'll say, we want you to be more involved. And I'll do it for like a day, but then I forget. I don't know. It's just not my thing.
I understand. But I feel like you might be able to curate some stuff as well.
But it really takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to go through. But like, I've been watching this thing lately on Instagram, and it's people getting sentenced for crimes they committed.
Okay.
Right? So somebody will get 900 years in prison and will pass out, right?
They'll pass out.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to see. But anyway, one of them I watched not long ago. The guy was, I don't know what he had done, but the judge is off camera, and the judge said, you did this to a child, you would do this to other childs. And I thought, childs?
Yeah. Given the calves, the position you have on the calves, what is your thought on the Ozempic, tirzepatide, GLP-1?
You know, like I'm struggling to lose 5 pounds.
And you walk 30,000 steps a day?
Yeah, you walk.
But I don't care. You know,
Oh,
like
good.
if somebody else, I mean, I know there are people who've struggled for years.
Their entire life, yeah.
Yeah. And I think this must be just great for them.
Yes,
you
I'm
know?
so supportive of it, but I was just curious since you put so much fucking effort into.
Yeah, they're not taking anything from me.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
my
I just
opinion.
feel like it's made such a massive change in so many people's lives and made them happy. And,
Yeah.
you know, and then people say, well, we don't know what the long effect. No, true, we don't.
Although diabetics have been on this medicine for like 20 years. They do. I don't think that's a really strong objection.
I really care about baths. You know,
Okay.
I want to take a bath. I don't want to take a shower. I look forward to my bath all day.
How long do you stay in the tub when you're in there?
45 minutes.
Oh, nice.
Okay, it's a
And
real
I
session.
look forward to dinner.
Yeah.
And so if were on Ozempic, then I can't walk away from food. Like
Yeah.
last night we were at dinner, I noticed some people had some food on their plate. And normally I would have said, I actually pass that over this way.
Yeah, you ate most of Whoopi Goldberg's dinner at
Yeah.
the Pope
Yeah. I just-
invitation.
I'll eat anyone under the table.
Boy, we should really have a meal because that could get.
I mean,
Violent.
really, even people who think, oh, you can't out eat me.
Yeah.
No, I like to eat until I hate myself.
Yeah. That's when you know you're
think that
there.
serves that
Yeah, when
purpose
the
for a
shame
lot of
sets
people.
in
You know, it's
mid-meal.
funny. My brother and I are exactly the same. And I don't know if it's because having 6 kids,
Yeah.
you know, like I
The
tend to
hoarding.
corral my plate, you know,
Yep.
like to keep you away from it. And I just would eat because if you finish first, then maybe you can get second.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's not like I need counseling or anything.
Yeah.
But watching my brother eat, I think, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Yep, same with me and my brother. There was like limited resources and it was a race every time we ate. And I hate sharing. I think of myself as a very generous person. I'll buy you anything. I don't want to share any of my food. I don't enjoy it. I'd rather not do it.
I went out to dinner a couple nights ago with some very generous people.
Okay.
And what I ordered was so good, I didn't offer anyone a taste because I wanted it all for myself. And they would all say, do you want some of this? Do you want some of this? And I would take their food, but I
Never
Never
offer.
reciprocated.
didn't offer any of my own.
Yeah, I've been in that position too. I mean, you're ordering the thing you want to eat. So you don't want to give half of it away.
I don't like it sometimes when you go to places with people you don't know that well, and it's a small plate thing that you share because
plate.
Tapas.
I want all of it.
Yeah.
That's when we're ordering. That's where I have to start the whole process because they'll go like, my wife will go, "Oh, should we get such and such for the table?" And I'll go like, "Well, I want one for myself."
Yeah.
So make sure I have my own appetizer. And I feel crazy, but I can't even enjoy it because I'm racing to get my.
You can soften it by just saying, let's get 2.
But I don't mean to, because I don't
one for
want
me.
2.
Right.
I don't want 4 people sharing 2. I want 3 people sharing 1,
Hugh
and I
is
have my
having a
own.
really big
I want my
reaction.
own and then part of yours.
Exactly. I want
Yeah.
my own, and then the sharing one we're
Yeah.
all getting.
Okay, but you both have money, so you can say, let's start with 2, and maybe we'll get another one if everyone's still hungry.
No.
It's not, you guys aren't resonating with this?
You know what I like to do is when dessert time comes,
Yeah.
I like to order more dinner.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I can
You
relate
might
to
like
that.
this, David. We were in Austin 6 months ago, and we went to Lambert's, my favorite steakhouse there.
Great
And I got a ribeye, and like from the first bite, and you would know as a fellow addict, the first bite, I'm angry. I take one bite, and I'm like, "Fuck, this is so good. It's gonna disappear. I should have ordered 2. It'd be crazy now if I ordered a second one." Because Monica will be waiting. And like, I was very uncomfortable with how good it tasted and how panicked I was it was going to run out. So we went back 2 nights later and I got 2 ribeyes. And then I could just, I could relax and breathe, and I enjoyed the shit out of both of them. But it's like, when something's so good, my first thought is like, fuck, it's going to go away.
There's a place in Melbourne called Tipo 00, which is a kind of flour they make pasta out of.
Ooh.
And it's one of my favorite places. So I was there for 2 days, and so I went both days that I was there. And the second day, I ordered 2 pastas.
Yeah. And did you eat them both all, or were you like, I'll save some, take some home, or no?
Oh, no, I ate them
You
both.
ate them all.
I ate them both all, and I ate there, and I would have eaten dinner there both nights, too, but I was doing a show. And
Yeah.
when I eat dinner while I sign books, because otherwise I'm not getting out of there. All the restaurants are going to be closed. But a woman, I hate having my picture taken. I hate how people take your picture like you're a statue. They don't ask you. It's so rude to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they have signs up, no pictures.
Oh.
And this woman came up and said, after standing in this line, watching you eat for 10 minutes, I understand why you don't want any pictures taken. Because I eat like a caveman. I do.
Well, yeah, maybe part of it is the big family, but the addict thing is a piece of this.
Can you relate to the panic the second you recognize it's something you really love?
Yeah, but I haven't been to that place. I'll go there.
Oh, fuck.
Unlike the Four Seasons there has a smoked ribeye.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
That's where I'm. That's my fetish, is that same hotel.
We were in Tokyo in end of January.
Yeah.
And so we went to a teppanyaki restaurant at the Peninsula Hotel. And it was the best steak I've ever had
Oh.
in my life.
Really?
Unbelievable.
I will
Best steak
go
I've ever
just
had.
for that now. That's still the greatest gift in life, is when you have a meal like that.
And I was just sitting there thinking, how many entire cows have I eaten in my life?
I bet a
And
herd.
this is the best.
Wow.
And
Oh,
then
that's
I like to sit next to somebody who I know doesn't finish their food.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. That's very smart. Tactical.
But back to the Ozempic thing, that I agree with you that I think that takes away your desire for food. And that's sad.
I know. I've thought of many people I know who live to eat, and I thought, I can understand if they don't want that. Like, they don't want to lose their passion.
Their excitement
They're
for
great.
dinner.
Yeah.
Well, plus Hugh is a really, really good cook. And he's a very generous cook. You know, like he'll say, what would you like for dinner? And if it takes 4 hours to make it, and I'm not saying he'll do this every night, but a lot of times he'll spend 4 hours making
What's your
dinner.
single favorite dish of his?
It's this manicotti my mother used to make. And other people have tried to make it. And he just makes it perfectly. And it just takes me right back to my mother and to and most people, they don't make a meat manicotti, you know. And I like the store-bought shells. Like, he started making his own shells, and it's like, no, I like those ribbed store-bought shells.
The big boys. They're like a taco shell, pasta style.
But I wouldn't want to. It would really change our relationship if we didn't have that to do together.
Yeah.
Because we always eat dinner at the table. The only time we're allowed to watch TV is at the Academy Awards.
I like that.
But we eat dinner at the table with candles on the table, and it's that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And if we didn't, it's a lovely thing to have with
It
somebody.
is.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to, I don't know where would we be if we didn't have that?
If
I don't
you
know
were on
what we would even
Ozempic.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you just eat half of a manicotti, I guess. Is what you. I have many friends on it, and they seem to still enjoy it. They just don't want to overdo it like you and I want to do.
I just can't imagine putting anything away. Like, like when you meet people who take 3 puffs of a cigarette and put it out.
Yeah.
Like,
4 sips of wine.
or just have like, I'll just take a sip out of a. They turn back to their scotch and it's all the ice is melted. Like,
Or I'm all regularly at a table and people go, should we get that banana pie to have a bite?
That's me.
Yeah, and I just don't eat dessert. That's like, I got to do some bargaining with myself. So I'm like, I'll go savory. I go as hard as I want on savory, but that's off the table for me. And I just think, look at these psychopaths. They're going to order a dessert and they're going to have a bite. Everyone wants a bite of it.
well, last night at dinner, we split a piece of, I think it was banana cream pie.
It was ding, ding,
But-
ding.
I don't know. I felt good about that because I could have had a whole piece of banana cream pie for myself, but I need to lose 4.8 pounds by the 28th of March.
Okay.
What is happening
what's
on
that?
the 28th?
I start a new tour.
Okay, and you want to be this very
I
specific
want to
way
be
for that.
145 pounds
Okay, wow.
when I start my tour. And if I can be, that's the only way I do it. I'm just strict with myself and I
Yep.
get out of control and then I kind of rein it. But it's like a 5-pound range.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
Yeah.
seems doable.
You just talked about your mom and how much you like that it reminds you of her. And I want to say out loud, I heard you say the sweetest thing in one of these interviews I was watching where you said, my whole mission as a writer has been to make the rest of the world love my mom as much as I did.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I feel.
That's so fucking
My dad would get so
sweet.
mad. What did you have to say that for? But he never understood. My father would say, I loved my mother. She was a wonderful woman. What was so great about her? Oh, I loved her. She was wonderful. How was she wonderful? She was a wonderful woman. And it's like, he could say to me, my mother was an alcoholic. He could say his mother wasn't, but he could say my mother was an alcoholic. Or my mother took pressed my face against the skillet one time to teach me a lesson. And she didn't do any of those things.
yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make me dislike her. It would make her more real to
Make
me.
her a
Because
person.
when you're just saying she was a wonderful woman, you're not telling me anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you can include somebody's weaknesses in something that you write, like I wrote something recently. When we were kids, we would just, we'd have dinner together and my father would go downstairs the second he could. And the rest of us would sit around the table with my mother for hours and hours, 10:30 on a school night. And we're still with our mother around the table. And I think she really liked having a lot of kids and she liked us,
Yeah.
and we liked her. And she would go to the bathroom and we would follow her to the bathroom and she would throw up every single night. And then she would come out and say, oh, I ate something that didn't agree with me. And it wasn't until you're older that you're like, oh, the dental problems and mom was bulimic. Like there's not a word for it. I mean, maybe now it would be a bit different, but at the time there wasn't a word for it.
Yeah.
That didn't make her a bad mother.
No.
Right.
If my goal is to make people love my mother, I don't think that impedes my goal any.
Right.
You know?
Right.
No, it just makes her a human.
Okay, you're going on a 40-city tour. You tour every single year, right? You don't ever. Do you ever
Every
take?
fall and every spring.
Do you love being on the road?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you will do a reading, and as you already know, lots of armchairs go, and we hear about it all the time. Like, oh my God, I saw Sedaris in Skokie. I saw him in all these places, all over the. And you do book signings generally,
Yeah,
right? And they go on until they're over, right?
yeah.
How long are they?
The longest one was 10 and a half hours.
Oh
10 and a
my
half
But that was on a book tour.
Right. Can't you get piles? Is that a thing? Isn't piles the old word for hemorrhoids?
Probably, but that's never, people are only going to wait in line for 10 and a half hours once. They're not going to do it a second time.
Gotcha.
So,
Right.
but usually if it's a lecture tour, it's a different thing because people bought a ticket. Like that's the longest one I did recently. It's like 5 hours. But usually I get to the theater and I start signing books immediately because I don't need any prep time.
Right.
And I'm there at the theater because I got to do the sound check. So what am I going to do? Sit in the dressing room? So
you do it beforehand?
Yeah, I do it beforehand and then I do it after. And usually you do it an hour before and 2 hours after.
I reread Themes and Variations today. Do you recall that story of yours? It's so good, and it's all about signing. I mean, mostly. There's so much fodder in these signings. Like, you get so many wonderful stories. But, this woman came up to David and said, like, I put my bra back on for you.
Yeah, she said I take it off when I come home from work. I don't put it on for anyone. Once it's off, it's off. And it explains so much to me because, like, I found this woman's phone in England, and I tracked her down, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
And then I knocked on the door, and her husband came to the door, and I said, "Oh, I found a telephone. I think it's," and he's like called over his, Sherry. And then she comes to the door with her arms crossed over her chest as if I stole her phone. And then I realized, oh, she took a bra off.
Yeah.
And her arms are crossed. So
Yeah.
Oh,
and then it informs David to start. Now he starts asking everyone who comes up to get a book signed, when do you take your bra off?
That's actually a great question for people.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then he's learning people. Some of the women are like, oh, heavens no, I take it off in the car. Like, they don't wait to get home.
I met a Scottish woman who takes it off on the bus. On the bus.
And I hadn't even thought of it either. I thought, reading that story again, I was like, it must feel incredible to get that fucking bra off. Like, I can actually feel the sensation of liberating these boobs that have been bound up. I think it must
be like, like when sometimes you're wearing a pair of shoes that's too tight or something.
Yeah.
And you come home and you take them off and you're like, oh, the last thing you want to do is put them back on.
Yeah, I am not in a rush to get it off, but I don't love putting it on. Like, I wait till the longest moment before I put it on in the morning. So, like, if it's a weekend and I'm not going out anywhere, I probably won't wear one. But do you know what I mean? Like, when I get home from work, I'm not like, I got to get this thing off.
You're not dying to get out of it.
No, I just don't want it.
Now, is there any element of that you're like, I must protect their buoyancy?
Why I don't put it on?
Why you don't take it off right away?
No. I just forget.
Okay.
I have great bras, Skims, shout out, sponsor.
Yeah, big shout out.
But is that, though, like, when I was in Hawaii, I saw people with long sleeve shirts on, and then they had hats on, and they had things protecting their necks. And they had, sunblocks.
Big visors.
Yeah.
But part of me thinks when you're 60, you're going to look 60. Do you know what I mean? Whether you live your life in the shadows. I mean,
shadows.
if you are.
You're going to age regardless.
So is that like that with breasts?
I've had girlfriends. That's why I asked. I've had girlfriends that are like, I have to keep it on until I go to bed because I don't want them to get saggy. Like, they're thinking of maintaining the buoyancy of their breasts.
I don't think that's going to help very much. Yeah, I don't think so.
But by that reason, all right, then briefs, a tight brief would keep your ass firmer than boxer shorts, right? By that same
logic, but I'll tell you this from anecdotal experience and one experiment. My testicles were getting droopier and droopier and droopier. And one of the most embarrassing moments I had, which I've told on here before, is I was shooting as a guest star on the TV show, and the lead actress was not working that week, and they gave me her trailer. And this is a very perverted, and I'm sorry for this story, but this was 20 years ago.
I already love it.
And so I finished my last day of work, and then I was told, or I heard, they're actually calling her in, this actress, back to her trailer. And so I started getting kind of horny with the notion that she might walk in while I was naked. And then I happened to walk by a mirror, and it was a very hot day that day of shooting, extremely hot. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, my testicles are longer than my penis. This is a nightmare if she walked in and saw how droopy these balls are. And your dick should always be further down than your testicles. And so I was really, and again, this was 20 years ago. And I was like, where are these balls going to be when I'm fucking 50? Like, I'll have to tuck them in my socks. That's what I was en route to. Then I did a movie, I guess it was 9 years ago. And in the scene, I had to wear MeUndies. They were tight. They were boxer briefs. And I was like, oh, I actually like these. And I switched to those kind of panties 10 years ago. And David, my testicles are half the length that they were when I was wearing boxers for a decade.
Hey, it's really funny to hear a man say the word panties.
I always, well, I'll never call a woman's undergarments panties, but I exclusively will call men's panties panties.
Because a woman said to me, I had used the word panties in an essay. She said, only men say panties.
I don't think
thought-
that's true.
I think women say it in a sexual context, but I agree that you're not like, I'm going shopping for panties today. Like, we're
What would you
not.
say?
Underwear.
Unmentionables?
No
I
underwear.
think, personally, that if your testicles,
They look like taffy. I'm going to add that. Yeah, like saltwater taffy.
if you put an ice cube in, then
It would have been fine.
The coldness would, so maybe the heat had something to do with
Oh, it
it.
had an enormous amount to do with it. But I'm telling you, even ice
Taffy.
cubes would not have
Taffy.
rectified the situation. And I put my clothes on so fast and got out of that trailer, you can't
'Cause
imagine.
Have you ever seen kangaroos' balls? In Australia, they're just really disturbing.
So long.
they're- yeah.
Really
Taffy like.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. We're going to have to do some Googling.
I could have put mine in a ponytail.
Oh, my God.
There was enough
I
to
absolutely love that you say that. When my second book came out, my first book, I had just written it, it was just stuff I'd written all my
Yeah.
life, right? And the second book, they said, what's your book going to be about? And I said, I don't pitch things. I said, I'll go to a nudist colony because I'd never read anything about it. And I don't even like walking around my house barefoot. Like I'm the last person who would go to a nudist colony.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I kept putting it off. And then my editor found a place, and it turned out to be a senior citizens nudist trailer park in upstate New York. So I went, and I was in a trailer, lived in a trailer, and so I would get to my trailer and I would put my clothes on, and then someone knocked on the door, and I'm like, "Just a minute!" And I'm racing to take my clothes off because if you answered the door with your clothes on, they'd be like, "What's going on here?" It was opposite land, you know. I was invited to somebody's house for dinner naked, and I went naked, and you bring a towel, and they're naked, and it's
You
like
did that for how long?
10 days.
Wow.
That's the problem. I have seen enough documentaries about nudist colonies. It's just not what you want it to be.
No.
It doesn't
No, it's
attract the people you want
No,
to see.
and this is senior citizens nudist. So they were playing petanque a lot, which is a game where you take a metal ball and you toss it. So, and then the game's over, and you go and you bend over and collect. So you were seeing people's
assholes.
Yes.
like
yeah.
they had a snack bar, and the waitress would have a tampon string hanging out.
no!
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, people would come out of the bathroom and they'd have a big ring around their bottom, so you would know exactly. Because sometimes people go in the bathroom and you think, oh, maybe they needed to wash their hands or something. There were certain things you
Clean out their seersucker suit.
couldn't conceal.
Wow. What a
man.
thing to do.
Yeah, it's not sexy. You want it to be
It's
sexy,
not
and it's not
sexy.
sexy. Yeah, and did you ever? I'm never gonna be around. If there's dick and balls around, I'm gonna stare at them. There's just no. I can't imagine myself getting immune to it.
You know, I think being gay, like, and being in a locker room or something, you're just always kind of living in fear that someone's going to say, what are you staring? Like,
Yes,
so you,
yes.
you're super conscious, like, extra super conscious, like.
Yeah, that's my straight privilege. I can totally stare
Not
at
to-
dicks and balls.
Yeah.
And no one thinks anything.
Yeah. You're
It's not dangerous for me.
But I always thought, like, people are just so wasting their time when they're thinking about, like, trans women in the bathroom.
know.
Hey, there's nothing to look at in the bathroom. And a trans woman is like, that's gay people you don't want in the locker room. You know what I mean? But not that they're going to attack you, but they're going to appreciate, they're going to be
gonna look at
looking
you.
at you
Yeah.
in a way that.
Yeah. Well, my bigger issue is like, we want this. So there's it's always the same thing. No one's worried about a trans man going into the bathroom. They're worried about a trans woman going into the girls' bathroom.
Right.
So they believe that this person is a predator who will abuse children. And they're like, they can't be in the girls' bathroom. They must be in the boys' bathroom. Like, there's no concern that the boys are going to get molested by this predator.
Right.
Right? It's just like they're with girls. They can't be with girls. They must be with the young little boys. Nothing got safer. It's just, you're picking. You've prioritized little girls getting molested over little boys. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. But I haven't read about a single person
No,
being
it
attacked.
hasn't.
in
No.
bathroom.
It's a
Have you?
never
complete,
happened,
it's
no.
craziness. Yeah, it's craziness. And that's another thing. How you're monitoring this. Let's say it passed. No trans women in the bathroom. Is someone at the door checking dicks and genitals?
Exactly.
Is that what we're all signing up for? No trans men in the bathroom. I have to show my dick and balls to go into the. I mean, you try to work out how it's going to be enforced, and I'm not clear.
Well, when people were like ragging on Ellen DeGeneres, and I don't know her, I've never met her, but I think she did so much more for gay rights than a lot of most activists, because people watched her and people grew to love her, and then she said, I'm a lesbian, and they were like, okay.
Shit,
Yeah.
I already love you.
Yeah.
Too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think trans people need that.
Yeah.
Because whenever I can't think of a single one that I've met who's like, get that tiresome asshole away from me. I just
Right.
can't think of, and that doesn't mean that they're all lovely, but I
Perfect.
mean, I don't know, I was in Australia and I went into a drugstore and there was a trans woman working in the drugstore and she had real personality and she's like, oh, do you want to take that packaging off that before you leave? I don't know. It hurt me to think that anyone might not wish her the best.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally agree.
Yeah, but I agree with you. That's how all things become palatable. You meet people who you like, who are of different, religions, races, all of these things, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah,
that's fine now.
most hardcore racists, they've never even been in class with a black kid. They don't know any black folks. They hate them, but they've never, ever even met them. Is generally the case.
Did you watch Sing Sing?
Yes.
We had Coleman
Okay.
Domingo on for
Oh, you did?
that. Mhm.
Because when I said earlier that when dawn, prisoners would come get out of prison and
Yes.
stay at her house, when I saw that movie, I thought, oh, I should take prisoners in my house. Because when he got out of prison at the end, I was so glad to see that his friend was there waiting for him.
Yeah.
But I thought, oh, I want him to come and live in my house and then, find a job and I'll be that step between.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And again, it's not like he was really in prison, It's just that movie made me.
You want Coleman Domingo to come live in your
Yeah.
house. yeah.
Get in line. I think we all
He was
do.
on the show?
Yes, I love him.
He's pretty
Oh my
special.
God. Do you know him?
No.
Oh, he is as special as they get.
Is he pretty tall?
Yeah.
He's tall. He's got gorgeous legs. He was wearing short shorts.
As you know, amazing fashion.
Yeah, he's crazy into fashion. I want to really, really beg people to go see you in person reading your stuff. It's so fun. I've done it. It's so enjoyable. And you're going to 40 cities. And I think people will be shocked how close you'll probably be to where they live. It's not like you're just in major cities. You're in Akron. You're in Fort Wayne. You're in Burlington, Albany.
Nice.
You're all over the place. People should go to davidsedarisbooks.com and get tickets. It's such a fun evening. And if you want to hear him ask you a weird question, very high likelihood that'll happen if you stay in line. Because you'll
what
talk to
fun.
everybody and you'll write something very inappropriate in their book. You'll ask them a very inappropriate question. It promises to be a real experience.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
Yeah. And also, for anyone who's not listened to the audio book of Happy Go Lucky, I really recommend it because Themes and Variations is that recording of that story is from a live show. And the amount of laughs in that, I mean, you don't pound for pound hear comedians really getting that long of laughs. It's such a funny piece. And to be in the audience listening to it, I think is so great.
Well, I want to do my whole next book completely live.
Ooh.
That's a good idea.
Well, because sometimes if you record it in the studio, then it can be edited in such a way that it fucks your timing up. But if you're doing it live,
They
then
can't.
you can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
That and you're getting real-time feedback of what part we want to sit in for a second. Is it possible for you to really know what part we'd like to sit in for a second? But the audience forces you to sit in some things.
Like I tried reading something about going to Fiji, and so I read it I wrote it when Hugh and I were in Hawaii, but I was on tour, but I had a 5-day break in the tour. Anyway, so I read something out loud, and then I go back to the room and rewrite it and read it out loud. Because you read it out loud and you think, oh, I thought people could relate. People can't relate to this. So how do I make this more relatable? And, oh, people are just confused by that. So let's get rid of that.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you could have an editor telling you that, but I'd rather you be the editor. I'd rather you be the editor.
You're
I'd
working in
rather
like a stand-up routine in some way. And I think that's kind of cool
very
and novel.
So I have new stuff. I mean, a lot of times people are, oh, you're going to be reading like from your books. And I'm, no, I never do that.
Right. So anyways, everybody go to davidsedarisbooks.com and please go see David live before you perish, because it's totally worth the trip. And then, yes, listen to Happy Go Lucky, because I had so much fun re-listening. I adore you.
Oh, thank you
I think
so
you're
much
our
for having
leading
me
guest.
back.
You are you I think have the crown for
You're
the
our
most.
Alex Baldwin.
Yeah.
Yeah. or
Let's keep
Steve
it
Martin.
up. Keep coming back, please. Every armchair, if you ask anyone, like, who are your favorite guests?
We poll
you
them.
always
I
come up.
meet so many people who listen to your podcast.
It's-
Like in Australia, I even met a lot of people who listen.
Well,
Yeah,
they
we
love
want,
you.
We want to go there and do a live show.
Yeah.
That'd
That's
be
what I
fun.
say. Go see him live.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
That's exactly what I told him to do. All right. Love you.
Love
See you
you.
around soon.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for the fact check. It's where the party's at.
You're stressed out.
Yeah, but I'm trying not to be stressed out because Buddhism.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I was yesterday.
Did you get
Buddhist.
impacted by the...
Extremely impacted by White Lotus
Yeah.
finale. We won't talk about it,
We're
the
not gonna talk
details,
about
because
it.
you haven't finished, but I do want to talk about it overall. There are so many parts of the whole season. The whole season is about, the whole series is really about Buddhism, I think. But this season specifically is like, kind of hitting you over the head with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But
In the most realistic way.
yes, oh my God.
Mike White?
I just think Mike White is
Yeah.
so brilliant in his accuracy. Like every storyline is so accurate,
Yeah.
but so funny. He dabbles in Buddhism, so it comes through in all the seasons, I think. Because I think what they're all saying in different ways, obviously the first season is speaking to class, you know, and second season is speaking to relationships, and then this one is religion, that he just shows over and over again how flimsy our grasp on reality is. Like what we think is true to us and what our identities are and who we are, and even our beliefs are so flimsy. Everything is so
we've built
tenuous.
up a lot of artifice around what is at the end of the day another animal on planet Earth. But we've created all these things and manufactured things, and then we have institutions of thought, and they all feel really substantial and permanent and real.
Nothing's real.
But it's just all stuff we made, and it's ideas we thought up and told other people, and they caught on.
Mm-hmm.
We're just here. I was thinking in the simplest terms, they were going to breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to breakfast on the show, and it seems so fun.
Yeah.
I get like so excited at the notion of being at a hotel and going and getting breakfast when I see the scenes. And I go, oh yes, breakfast is so fun. And then I go, yeah, because it's eating.
Yeah.
It's the essential thing. We really do have a purpose, which is we have to eat food. That's like one of our purposes. Like the most consistent source of joy in your life is eating. You're almost guaranteed 3 times a day to have this like fun pick-me-up.
Not anymore for a lot of people.
Well, true. That's a good bring up Ozemp.
I know. Peptides.
But does that make any sense? I was like, it's not a mystery why breakfast, lunch, and dinner is so fun because we have to eat to stay alive. That's our purpose.
Yeah, but but then we put so much on top of it. The expense, like I'm going to a fancy restaurant tonight.
Yeah.
That proves that I'm
doing it.
valuable in society, and that people want to be. I'm superior. Like we make all these hierarchies, and it's all made up. Like everything is made up. Because yesterday I was walking to go somewhere to work. And I like sat down with my computer and I thought, how do Buddhists work? Like, I don't want to do, like, what is the point of this? What is the point of sitting here and picking apart this conversation and making it sound good? And all of this is for money. And like, why?
Well, hold on. No.
Why?
There's a very Buddhist approach to work. Yeah,
But
you
it's
should
for
definitely.
money.
No. Well, if you make it about money, then yes. Being diligent and meticulous and thoughtful and mindful about process is very Buddhist.
It is, I know.
And
I know. But for me, there's stress on it, right? Like I'm doing it so that it's so good so that we are able to have all these downloads, and then we're able to earn our money, and it's all like, and I'm able to feel comfortable in that big house, and I like, it's all
you're having a real
dumb.
reckoning.
Yeah, it's all dumb, and it is so ironic and so stupid. But the weekend started. I mean, again, this is like a bottle. This isn't a bottle episode, but it kind of is.
You love your bottle episodes. Yeah. You want to keep them going.
On Saturday, I went shopping with Callie. As we love to do.
Yeah, and you went to a new store.
I went to a new store that I was really excited to go to.
Yeah.
That's a fancy store that, you walk in and it's very Pretty Woman. You come in and you have to prove yourself there a little bit.
Right.
And Callie even said, she was like,
opposite of Costco. I'm just finishing the acquired Costco episode.
Completely opposite of Costco. Costco is a fantastic company. Like when we walked up, they said, "Do you have an appointment?" And we said, "No." And then they said, "Okay, it's fine. How many?" And we said 2. And they said we could go in. While we were there was a watch.
Beautiful watch.
There was a gorgeous watch, 2 actually. And the first one I tried on was gold, Cartier. Beautiful. It has like this tiny face. I love a tiny face.
You love a tiny face, yeah. I like a bigger face.
I love it. It's so tiny, you wouldn't believe it.
Okay.
And it's vintage. It's
Do you
from
need
like the
a
20s.
magnifying glass to see what time it is?
Almost.
What if it came with its own matching magnifying glass you kept in your pocket?
Yeah.
But it was tiny too.
And it's so tiny, and I put it on and it was beautiful. And then he said the price. I was like, oh,
you had to tell your face not to react.
yes. And I was kind of like, get it off. Like, I can't.
Get it away from
shouldn't
me.
be on me. Like, get it off.
Yeah. How much was it?
50,000.
Oh. Cowabunga. Yeah.
So he took it off, but there was this other one I had seen, and Callie was like, maybe you should try on that other one. He put it on my wrist, white gold, Cartier, tiny face, also vintage. It is so pretty. It looks great on my wrist.
Yeah.
It's extremely unique. Asked the price. He told me it was significantly cheaper than the first one.
Right.
So then it felt
Like a bargain.
cheap. I said, I'm going to think about it.
Yeah, okay.
I took it off. Callie made me promise her I wouldn't buy it that day.
Good girl, Callie. Good girl.
She said that's something to think about.
Yeah, that's a think about purchase. Yeah.
And I said, sure. Yes, that's right. And
She's like, just wait till you watch White Lotus on Sunday.
well, that's where this is going.
Okay.
So I was ruminating on this watch for 48 hours,
Yeah.
basically.
We spoke about it even. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was looking on the internet to see if I could find anything like it.
Yeah.
I couldn't find.
You couldn't.
No.
Because my first thing would simply be anything vintage at a really nice store, they're marking it up 100%. So why not find it in the wild if
Yeah.
you really want it?
Well, I've been scouring.
And you couldn't do it.
It's nowhere to be found.
They found the only one.
And so, then I was like, God, should I do it? And then I've been asking people, and of course some people are like, absolutely not, no.
Yeah.
And then some people are like, well, I mean, like, it is an investment. It's people do that. So anyway, I've been doing this whole thing all
A lot of math
weekend.
in your head.
A lot of math, a lot of thought about this watch, and then I am watching the episode.
Yeah.
And there's a scene.
Yeah.
There's a scene with the mother and the daughter. Have you got there?
Yeah.
Okay. Where basically the daughter she's there to become Buddhist. She wants to go to this monastery. She wants to live there for a year.
Yes.
And the mom says, you need to stay there for one night.
Yeah.
And like, if you're fine with that, then okay.
We sign off.
Which seemed like an easy thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And she goes and she comes back, and essentially, if you haven't watched this yet, maybe turn it off. But like,
fast forward is what you want to do. Yeah.
She's crying.
Yeah.
Because she just can't do it.
Yep.
She's
She didn't like the
crying because
bed.
she's
She didn't like-
spoiled, and she says,
She's
"I'm just
owning
so
it.
spoiled."
Yeah.
But even the fact that she's a victim in that is also funny to me. Like,
Well, I took it as she was really disappointed in herself.
she was, but it is like, I don't know. She's getting comforted because she's so spoiled.
Yeah.
She can't live in a monastery. I don't know. Anyway, she basically says like, I can't do it. And the mom is like, I know, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, and she basically gives sort of a disgusting, but in some ways scarily viable reason for why they should be spending their money and living rich.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God.
How we twist.
This is, yeah. Oh, and then there's, for me, the most poignant scene in the, there's a few.
Fast forward. But he basically asks his family members if they can live without money. Is that what you're going to say?
No.
That's the one that really hit me. So that one hit you. The one that hit me was like, the dad's finding out if these kids can live without money. His wife's already told him she can't.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going like, yeah, if someone asks me that question, it feels like a way bigger proposition than I want it to feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels embarrassingly like I've become dependent on this thing.
These
this
luxuries.
thing gives me comfort.
Yep.
Like, I think a less generous version is like people want to feel superior. I don't know if it's that dark for most people. Most people just want to know, like, I did good. There was like, you could do good or you could do bad. You could try hard or you could not try. You could study. You could like, I did good. I did all the things I was supposed to, and I did good.
Yeah, that's part of
much
it.
less than like, oh, I'm way better than Mike who can't own a
but it's
pontoon
all
boat.
subconscious. Like, it's not.
It's murky.
It is a I did good. But with the I did good comes subconsciously some on this hierarchy of humanity.
Yeah.
I have achieved a position that's fairly high up.
Well, what I totally agree with you
And that's
on.
wild and dumb.
What's dangerous is what you're really afraid to lose is actually not the trip or the first class. It's the pride that you did good. The notion that without those symbols of that, you could no longer say I did good, which is a terrible way to evaluate your life because
it's also
if you're
not
a good friend and a good parent. And
also, what if your job is you go work at the nursing home? You did fucking good.
Oh,
That is
actual good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't have money and Cartier watches to show for that.
Right.
They're all presentations. I mean, it's so depressing. Like, it is so. Mike White says, identity, what Buddhists believe, identity is suffering. That is what causes it. You're tied to your identity.
Yeah.
And yes, and it can cause pride.
And even
but
the
it
belief that
causes
you
suffering.
have an identity.
Yes.
Because Buddhists are like, it's contextual. You're a different version in every single environment you enter.
Yeah.
In this obsession with, no, it's one, I have one thing in all environments and in all contexts.
Yes.
Creates all this suffering.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, is nothing's fundamental. Nothing's fundamental. It's all based on where you are, who you are in that moment, what you believe in that moment, but could change at any second.
Yeah.
But there is, I do think, one thing that is fundamental, which is love. Like that is part of this show, this series, but also the season 2, where like one of the characters has the most bizarre arc of the whole, I think, of anyone. Saxon, that character, where he's like repugnant.
Yeah.
And very much tied to money and
being a successful businessman like his father.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, masculinity.
Being alpha in the worst version.
And then by the end, he like two of the character, he sees love for real. He witnesses it.
Yeah.
And he is he's like crying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because he wants that. That's really what is all there is to have.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm not getting my watch.
But I think the distinction between who is it made miserable and who is it not is their identity just that achievement or not? I think it's tempting to just evaluate like expensive stuff is bad or expensive life is bad. And I'm not willing to go there. Mm-hmm. I think having your identity
tied to
completely anchored to that is very bad. Now, I love Buddhism and I've been reading it and I really like it and it brings me a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to say the world can't be Buddhist. Well, they could be.
Yeah.
We would not have vaccines. We would not have medicine. We would not have all the many things that we also really like and think are beneficial for mankind. Mm. That's not their pursuit. Their pursuit is acceptance and harmony. So, I can't go I don't think I'm willing to go full in on the whole world should be Buddhist and no craving and no striving and all that stuff, because I also I think we're in a much, much different world. But maybe you could argue maybe everyone would be happier, but they'd be dying much sooner and there'd be no solutions for a lot of things we want solutions for.
Yeah, they don't think like that.
They're not gonna band together to come up with the huge hydroelectric power plant or the sanitation system that's not what they're gonna do. They're gonna live very simply in harmony.
I mean, they're not gonna try to anti-age. No, they're accepting that this is one droplet out of the ocean and we come back to it. I do think it's a very beautiful idea that we come back and we find our people again.
I like that a lot.
In different forms.
It's very comforting, yeah.
I think I believe it. Like there are people in my life that I feel I've known.
You've done this dance before.
Yeah, in a different. Who knows? Like who knows in what way?
Yeah. Here's the scene I thought you were responding to. Is the teacher is saying, often we wake up with anxiety.
What does he say? I don't remember.
He's like, we wake up with anxiety and we're uncertain about what'll happen in the day and we have fear. And so what we do is we reach for our identity or our ego. I don't remember the exact words, but we reach for that thing to comfort us.
Yeah.
And I like anytime, AA is great at doing this, anytime that someone acknowledges what's the real feelings are. Like, yes, I wake up with anxiety all the time. That's my roughest part of the day is right when I wake up. Because it's like, yes, what could go wrong today? What has to be done that I'm afraid I can't accomplish? All this stuff. And so it's almost CBT to just go, oh yeah, they've been already acknowledging this for a long time. And they're basically just saying observe it as well. Mm-hmm. There's a little distance from it. There's an acknowledgement. It's very human. Yeah. It's standard. That's what's very comforting to me about Buddhism. It's like, yes, these feelings are very normal to humans. Oh, yeah. And here's what you will normally do to try to push the fear away. And here's another thing you could do. And I like that part.
Right.
The kind of global judgment of things. It gets too dogmatic into like every other religion for me at that point. If there's like this big judgment about other things.
I don't think it's not a judgment. It's an acknowledgement that the way modern humans, mostly, not all, walk through the world is doing us a disservice. Like we are causing ourselves so much suffering in pursuit
of pleasure.
Of pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, on the worst side, and then just safety, which is defendable. But for all of it, there's always these, there's just too many great exceptions for all of it. So it's like, I immediately think of Bill Gates. Like, here's a guy who, per a Buddhist assessment, has generated way too much of everything. Money, create all these products. But that's clearly not his identity because he's giving everything he's made away. And he's impacting the world in measurably tens of thousands of lives saved. And so the whole endeavor is outside of that belief system, and I think really valid and admirable.
Right. But I guess they would say that's his identity. He doesn't have one. He's a person that did those things.
Yeah, well, I think his identity is kind of like Rockefeller's, which is like, I was put here, I was given this crazy gift. It allowed me to generate all this thing and pool this money so that I can go fix things. Like, that's their identity, and it's a cool one. I support it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. But I guess the goal, I think, is that you aren't doing any of that. You aren't doing that. You're not like saying my identity is that I help people. Even that. Like, that you don't put the labels on yourself because they're as they would say, a prison. Your identity is a prison. It's a cage. Whether it's a good cage, whether it's an admirable cage or not, it's still a constriction.
Yep, that's true.
Anywho,
wow.
Yeah, it's a lot to sit with.
Yeah.
I'm not getting my watch. I am wearing another watch I have right now.
I bet a lot of people listening would go like, I can't relate to this at all. But I would say, ask yourself if you could move to a place that's half the size that you currently live in. That's all that's happening. It's like, it's the proposition of having less than you have.
Yeah.
And I think that's a universal fear.
It's not about, I mean, yeah, we brought in material items and things, but it's just about the treadmill. The treadmill every person is on.
Yeah.
To get to the next rung.
Yeah.
No real satisfaction. That we're all doing that wherever you are on this ladder.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing that is causing pain.
Yeah.
So
You're Buddhist.
I'm quitting.
Quitting everything.
I'm selling my house. And I'm not buying that watch, I'll tell you that.
I do think it has a little bit of appeal that a geographic has. And people didn't listen to that episode 10 years ago. But a geographic is a common solution for addicts. It's also a common solution for people with mental health disorders. I'm going to go somewhere else and I won't have my problems there.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a little bit of a fantasy. What I think if you sold everything and you quit your job and you got into this one-bedroom tiny bachelor thing, I don't believe your happiness or fulfillment or purpose is going up. I don't. I think you're going to get in that little box and go, wow, okay, I did all that because that was going to result in something.
Well, no. If you are truly committed to Buddhism, there isn't a goal. You are there. You are present. That's the goal. Like, it's not. It's not to even enlightenment. Isn't.
I'm just saying. I think if you did all that and you pursued all that, you would get to a point where you're like, I could have done all this and not changed anything.
Well, I'm gonna try. I don't know. It's just a lot. Like, it's hard to look around. It's hard to have this sense of like, that's correct. Like, I think that's correct, that our identities are prisons.
Yeah.
Yet I have constructed a hard identity for myself, and I know that.
Yes.
And so to carry both, like to know I'm doing a thing that
I'm participating.
I'm participating in a thing that I actually know is not the ideal way.
Yep.
That's like a hard thing for me currently today to reconcile.
I think fully committing to a singular view. I like nuance and moderation. It's like, no, there's some good tenets and there's lots of great points that bring to your attention that you should observe and track.
Yeah.
And you can improve on. But like, is full Buddhist the correct thing or not Buddhist at all, the capitalist thing, correct? I guess I'm just like, no, again, they're just two stories. They have valid points. And you try to make the version that leaves you with the most peace and contentment.
I think most people could never
achieve
full enlightenment.
Monkhood.
Or be like truly Buddhist. I don't. So everyone who believes, not everyone, but most people who believe any of this is, you are combining it with the reality of, especially in this country, with our world, with our
reality.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Anyhow.
Okay. This is for David Sedaris.
Oh boy. The fun thing about Sedaris, aside from that he's just so perfect every time.
Yeah.
Is it always reinvigorates me to go back and re-listen to all the stuff.
So
and I've just, since we've interviewed him, I've just been on a tear of listening to all this stuff.
So fun.
Listen to this incredible one in Happy Go Lucky. And the specific story is Lady Marmalade.
Okay, great.
It's wild. The stuff he is able to cover.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's just incredible.
It's kind of Mike Whitey, actually. He's just so brutally honest with it. The Marmalade story is about, like, over the years, the many weird things his dad did that were very perverse but didn't seem to cross the ultimate line for him. It was the 70s or something, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, he wanted to examine David's asshole at one point because his stomach hurt.
Okay.
And he's like, you probably have hemorrhoids. And he was like, didn't know what that was. And his dad made him bend over the counter and he looked at his ass. Now, as he said, he didn't like put his finger in his butt or anything, but he definitely like examined it. He said, as if he were looking at a gem.
Oh my God.
And he did that 3 times throughout his childhood. He was very into photography and had these art photo magazines. And he asked David's sister when she was 17 if he could take pictures of her topless in the woods.
Yeah,
it's like very bad.
Yeah, very.
Just a series of things. And then later, his sister, who ultimately died by suicide or of suicide, accused the dad of sexual abuse.
Really?
And then them trying as siblings to evaluate whether they believe her or not, which is like so real.
Oof, yeah.
It's just so real. It wouldn't be this way on TV and it wouldn't be this way in the media, but this is really what happened. This is what really happens.
Yeah.
It's such a delicately assembled story.
Okay. Now, was there a time where you couldn't order a drink on an airplane because it's Sunday? No. I mean, maybe at some point you couldn't drink at all, obviously, on planes. But state laws regarding alcohol sales, such as blue laws, do not apply to alcoholic beverages sold on airplanes, even if the state has such laws. Airlines are subject to federal regulations regarding the sale of alcohol, which generally supersede state laws.
If you really step back, it's interesting that they allowed drinking on an airplane.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you got 100 strangers sitting in a very tight area,
I know.
And you're allowing them to get drunk. Yeah. Which we know makes humans unpredictable.
Yeah.
You could see where it would have never been allowed.
I agree.
I mean, I'm all for it. People are nervous, makes the time go by.
Yeah.
You don't have a problem like me. It's lovely. Yeah. But it is a curious policy.
It is.
Like they should allow weed, I guess, too. But like, I don't know, mushrooms? Probably not.
Well, weed is different unless they're eating it. Like you wouldn't want the smoke.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the smoke. You're eating it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it's fine, I guess. But there's obviously certain drugs, PCP, don't know.
Well, a legal drug are probably not allowed.
Yeah. Shooting dope? No. You can't have
Probably
ODs
not.
up in the air.
I don't think so. The priests dress a cassock, Catholic cassock or cassock. It has 33 buttons representing the years of Jesus' life. Anglican cassocks may have 39 buttons symbolizing the 39 articles of religion.
Right. But I don't know. I didn't know there were 39
Me either.
articles of religion.
I didn't either know that. Okay, I have a surprise.
Oh, I like surprises.
I know. I brought everyone one of the books, the children's book, The Story of the Little Mole Who Went in Search of Whodunit. This is the story about the poop on the head.
Oh,
I got one for you too, Rob.
And he said it's Werner. Yeah, Holsworth. Yeah, these are very German names. Wolf and Werner.
And on the back it says, when little mole looks out of his hole one morning, plop, something lands on his head. Who done it?
Oh, and guys, just for the viewer, here's a holdup of it, and the listener. It's not like a little bit of bird poop. It's a big turd. It's like a soft
really
serve
big
turd.
poo-poo.
It's covering his entire head.
And there's flies on it.
Well, I cannot read this to the children's.
Yeah.
This is going to be right up their alley. They're disgusting like me.
Well, you made them disgusting.
I think I did.
Anyway, so this is an exciting.
Thank you.
Oh, wow, look
I
at
love
this
it.
page.
Oh, fun. It's a yak dumping big plops of
Poo-poo.
You would know, whenever you see that horse droppings, which I see on the hiking trail sometimes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Make no mistake about it. It's horse dung.
I know.
Because there's like clumps of hay still in it.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm so glad we don't eat hay. That's a Buddhist thing. They could probably figure out how to eat hay, but I can't. I want to eat ribeye.
Oh, yeah, I want a burger. I think I'm going to have a burger tonight.
Oh, burgie?
And it's like so indulgent to eat burgers.
Oh, no. I'm not sure how this is going to work out.
I know. I'm going to New York on Friday.
Be a Buddhist when you get home.
I really indulge there.
Yeah, no, be a Buddhist when you get home.
Okay.
There's plenty of
I'll
time.
give myself another week to be a heathen.
Fully actualized.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I had to bring this up because he talks about diversity in kids' books. And so I have completed the studio since we last spoke or since we interviewed Seth. And
do you love it as much as I did?
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
My privilege, the Buddhists wouldn't like this, but my privilege that we had access to to the screeners, but I couldn't get into the screeners
it's always impossible
beforehand.
to get.
So I was like, whatever, I'll just watch it when it comes out. And so the first 2 episodes came out and I watched it and immediately I was like, we got to figure this out. ASAP.
Yeah.
and I have to watch all of it. I watched it all one day.
Oh, great.
I was obsessed with it. It's so good.
Yeah.
It is so good. It is so stressful.
It's so stressful. I almost want to watch it again without the stress.
Yeah. It's so, but Buddhism. Oh no, Buddhism's my new The Pit.
Yeah, you switched right from...
But
this would interest you. I was talking to Tom Hansen. Well, I had dinner with him yesterday before my meeting. And he was just coming from seeing John Wells.
Oh, fun.
And he said, are you watching it? I said, no, but Monica's watching it for me. And she brings it up on every single episode. And he's like, it is so good. He went on it. He is right with you. Yeah.
The cool kids know.
And he's like, Noah Wiley's such a man now.
Oh, I know.
Oh, wow. He and I kind of went through the same transformation. Right? Wasn't he a medium-sized boy?
He was. Well, he's in the show, he's wearing a hoodie, so you can't see his body, really.
But he's really masculine up.
He's really become quite masculine. His neck is thicker.
You want his bod, right?
You mean I want it on me or in me? Yes, I do. I am so attracted to him. Yeah, that's him. That's him on Friends.
No, that's ER, right?
No.
Oh, they guest starred on Friends as doctors. That's cute. Yeah, so that looks like me and Punked.
Oh, he's so cute.
And let's see him now.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God, is he hot.
Wow. Okay, so I haven't watched.
When you see him intubate,
Oh, he can intubate like a
I
motherfucker.
bet he knows how to intubate.
Oh, in real life.
Yeah.
Probably.
He's done this so many times.
But you would think I would know how to mix some music from how many times I hit buttons on Parenthood, and I don't know anything.
I think it's different with this kind of thing.
Okay, because he's a better actor.
You haven't seen
probably.
it.
Yeah.
But he,
Wow.
I would let
him intubate you?
him perform a surgery on me.
Oh, you would?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he would kind of know how to do it.
Okay.
I know you're mad about that.
No. I want you to expand how many people you let do surgery on you, not limit.
Thank you. That's very Buddhist of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, he's hot.
There's
as
enough
hell.
room. I think you'll have enough surgeries. There's enough.
Oh my God.
yeah,
Let's hope not.
there's enough surgeries for Noah and Ida.
Don't say that.
Yeah, you're going to get another one of those piercings. I know it. I know you.
I do want
I know
it.
you so well. You'll get another infected piercing.
I will.
Yeah. Another ring swollen around your. These are all coming.
Yeah, something happened. Oh, remember I told you I had an earring in recently and it was hard to get out.
Yeah, got infected. Your ears are telling you very clearly, we don't want adornment.
And I refuse to accept it.
Good for you.
Anyway,
Identity.
I love that he loves the pit.
Yeah.
People love it. It's like really gotten huge.
I'm going to go in.
Yeah,
I'll
you gotta
go
go
in at some point.
in. You gotta go in.
I'm just behind on Righteous and I was behind on White Lotus. So.
Okay, now why was I bringing up the
Sedaris.
pit? Buddhism.
Oh, Buddhist is your new pit.
Right, but I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the studio. So there's an episode in the studio about diversity, about casting.
Oh, my God.
And
yes. Yes, Ice Cube's in it. Yeah.
It is
it's so well done.
Funny.
Yeah.
And so well done.
No one can figure out what's racist. That's so true and funny.
It's so accurate.
Yes.
Oh my God. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. And also because they each individually have the realization that something is potentially racist.
Yeah.
And you see them all have the realization at different times. And it is, oh my God, it is brilliant. It is chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
Highly recommend the studio. Okay. Now, how many cows does an average meat eater eat in a lifetime? Okay. The average American consumes approximately 174 animals per year, including 23 chickens, a third of a pig, a tenth of a cow, 3/4 of a turkey, and smaller amounts of other animals like fish and shellfish. This translates to roughly 11 cows over a lifetime.
I think I've eaten more than that.
Yeah, you do think that.
Yeah.
Does it count human DNA in hot dogs?
Huh?
Oh, yeah, like
count
1
human
millionth of a
DNA?
human from the hot dog
Oh,
consumption.
yeah, maybe that counts. Okay, is piles the old word for hemorrhoids? Yes. Swollen, inflamed veins in the lower rectum and anus.
This is what, ding, ding, ding. This is what David's father was checking him for.
Oh, my God. Yeah, whoa. They can be internal or external.
I am shocked that I've never had a hemorrhoid.
I'm
It
shocked
feels
you
impossible.
haven't. Are you sure you haven't?
I have some weak systems, but I have some bulletproof systems. As we know already, my teeth are bulletproof.
Right.
I think my anus is too, because we both know I sit on that toilet for fucking as long
An
as I can,
hour.
as long as my life will permit.
Yeah. But you have had
Till
blood.
my legs fall asleep
You've had
sometimes.
blood. What'd you have?
Fissures.
Fissures,
Yeah, I had a bad run of fissures.
Yeah, that's not strong.
It's rough, but it's not a tongue hanging out of your butthole. Piles.
I've never had piles.
Okay.
But if I did,
Would you let Noah Wiley?
them.
Would you let him look at your piles?
If I got waxed and everything.
Okay, everything else was gorgeous.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Oh,
53.
great age. Mature.
Just about to be picked off the vine to made into wine. Yeah.
He's lived such a long life in the ER.
Oh, God. It's crazy he's still at it. It's exhausting work.
I know. It's getting to him. He has I won't tell you.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Oh, okay, great. I love you, David Sedaris.
Love you, David Sedaris.
So much. All right.
Oh yeah, he brought us We have postcards, but I didn't bring mine.
Isn't it behind you?
Yours is.
Why isn't yours behind you?
I have it at my house.
Oh, that's a good place for it.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason it went behind your head.
It's on my fridge.
Okay. Love you.
Love you.